So we were just talking about Subaru a minute ago, huh?
Yeah, yep. So if you're a fan of Subaru, which I appreciate them,
Yeah.
The STI is a legendary name, and it was sad that Subaru announced that the STI will be no more with this latest generation. They gave us a WRX and said, here's your shit, be happy with it. Because I think even like after this, I think this is the last generation for the gas one. It's either going to be EV or hybrid or some crazy shit, which for me at least, that signals the death of the manual WRX as well.
Right. Yeah.
So as a car enthusiast, that's not happy about that.
No.
But Japan and Subaru decided to grace us with one final gas-powered STI. And, well, there's no beating around the bush. They fucking fumbled it hard.
Yeah.
So I know I haven't...
I know nothing to this.
I haven't told you anything because I wanted to get your live reaction.
Ah, right. Okay.
But, so let's go to the current WRX, which was controversial in and of itself.
Well, first, we didn't even do a cheers. Bring it in. Doing the pod.
To the death of the STI.
To the death of gasoline engines. Yeah. So
the current STI.
Current STI.
Or not STI, WRX. That's already a bit controversial. People were not a fan of, like, the styling, the generous use of plastic trim, and I think the taillights kind of just look like a Honda Civic. So
yeah, I would agree. I'm not a huge fan of the new one as well. I think the one just before that's not too bad.
It's not terrible, but
yeah,
that's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah, the one before it wasn't
terrible,
awful,
but
yeah, the new one, you're right. I mean, there's so much plastic around the wheel wells. Yeah, it just doesn't like
I don't know if you
speak
want to put that
well.
up on the screen,
but
it's bland.
Yeah, and that plastic around the wheel wells just like also kind of shouts like Subaru Outback to me.
It kind of shouts cheap.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, like, if they had done, like, a gloss black even, that would have been better. But,
I mean, how do you do gloss black plastic trim, I mean, it should just be fenders. It should that shouldn't be there.
And, people have tried to paint it to, like, kind of remedy that.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's got that weird hexagonal shape. It's just...
True.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a super big fan of it.
That's never looked good. Like, I think the new Silverados are like that, I think.
GM's always had a weird relationship with wheel arches in like the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
The like 2000, you had one, the like 2008-ish body style
Yeah, right,
truck.
right,
They
right.
were rectangular wheel wells.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the WRX was already controversial. The previous generation was okay. The one before that was okay. The one before that, which I think was the Blob Eye.
Mm-hmm.
I might have skipped a generation or two, but the Blob Eye has always been my favorite.
Yeah.
And then the older ones before that, the Bug Eye.
Mm-hmm.
The what do they call the first one?
The Hawkeye.
I thought the Hawkeye was the one.
Hawkeye is the one everybody loved. That was like
the Hawkeye. I thought was the one after the Blob Eye with the center grill thing.
I pull up the generations.
Yeah.
Let's get our story straight.
Let's get lost in the weeds a little bit.
Let's get factional.
Hawkeye WRX. I should give us. Yeah, this is the Hawkeye.
Oh yeah, that was the Hawkeye. You're right.
The one after the Blob Eye.
Throw that up. Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
So
yeah, which I think that was kind of peak. That was
I think the Blob Eye was peak personally.
I guess. I mean, maybe you're right, but like,
look at that. The Blob Eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the far.
No, it's good. It's good. I just feel like, but as far as like sportiness goes, I've always been a fan of like the smaller the headlight, the cooler the car looks.
Well, the Blob Eye has the same size headlight, a little less pointy, and doesn't have the weird center grill. I'm not a fan of like grills that look like noses. That's why I don't like the Supra.
I'm a huge fan of Zenki S14s, which is the early model of the S14.
Everyone loves,
but everybody can, yeah,
and that's fine. My favorite Skyline is the R33. Everyone loves the R32 or the R34.
Yeah,
I like the R33.
But I have to admit that I think that the Koki S14 front end looks way better.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the Hawkeye. I just like the Blob Eye better.
Yeah. But that's a good representation of like when all they had to do was like the headlights aren't necessarily smaller. It's like it's very close when you look at them up next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But like once they're on the car and you see that
you're telling
the Koki is a little bit sharper, a little bit.
It's
like,
angrier.
It's angrier. Yeah.
But I mean, going back to the WRX, you're telling me that the Hawkeye looks better than the Blob Eye?
I mean, I will admit that it's very fitting. It's very fitting. It looks good. But then I go to the Hawkeye, that white Hawkeye.
I still like the Blob Eye. I don't like that grill.
Better.
I don't like central grills that are narrow and make it look like it's got a Squidward nose. That's why I don't like the Supra.
Yeah. Well, let's see. You're
among
seeing
other
it.
things.
You're seeing it that way.
Yes, I am.
Do the blue one right there. The other one.
I still like the Blob Eye better.
That's a lot cleaner, but I enjoy it. I enjoy them all. I enjoy them all.
Anyway,
but,
back to the meat of
yeah.
Back to the. I like older things. Modern day's a disappointment to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Every day that goes by, you hate it a little more.
I'm an old soul.
Yeah, I see. I like that one.
Yeah, that one wasn't bad. That was the generation before the current one. I don't even know what they call the current one.
Yeah, the 2021, that was good.
And it wasn't bad. And then the one before that was the one where they had the hatch, which I don't know why Subaru discontinued the hatch because everyone loved it.
Oh, yeah. I think like hatchback, wagon kind of style stuff like that sells.
Hatches and
today
wagons
in modern
are
day.
also like just severely underrepresented in today's car market. And it's because people buy SUVs, but
yeah.
Whatever.
But to me, it's like it's the perfect in the middle. You know?
Oh, you know how you were talking about like small headlights?
Yeah.
I think the current generation suffers from the headlights looking too small.
Yes, and I was going to say that it can shift in the other direction.
The issue isn't that the headlights themselves are physically too small; it's that the rest of the car has gotten fat.
Yeah, and like the grill included has also gotten fat. Like
everything's gotten chunky, and they didn't upsize the headlights to match the proportions. There's a lot going on. None of it's good.
Yeah.
But so they decided to grace us with a new STI, and in my opinion, they managed to fumble it horrendously. So there's a lot of things going wrong here. Mm-hmm. But let's start with the spec sheet, because even though numbers aren't everything, they're important to a lot of people. And also, while I'm not like a numbers guy myself, this is egregious.
Yeah.
So the current WRX makes 271 horsepower, which isn't terrible, but in 2024, 2025, like Toyota's got a 3-cylinder that makes 300 horsepower.
Yeah. That's rough.
Come on.
Yeah.
The WRX, it's falling behind.
0 to 60.
Without the
0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds is kind of weak these days.
Yeah.
Like for something.
Nowadays, yeah.
And like.
I love this here. Like it or not, the CVT car is quicker, hitting 0 to 60 in 5.4.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. They gave it an automatic because before previous generations, they never came automatic.
Yeah.
They gave it an automatic. I understand that. It's to broaden the market appeal so that they can keep the car alive. Yeah. I get that. It's why like Ferrari makes a fucking SUV, Porsche makes an SUV. It's to fund the cool shit.
Yeah.
But they gave it a CVT.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
Right.
That's not okay. It's never okay. But they dropped the STI. It's called the WRX S210 prototype. It supposedly previews the new STI. They are planning on making very few of them. I forget the exact number, and I don't know why, but trying to Google this thing has been like difficult. But they're not going to make too many of them. It's going to be a limited run. And it makes 296 horsepower.
Yeah,
this is the top of the line. The previous STI made over 300. I think it was like 341 horsepower. The previous STI.
Yeah, 330.
Yeah, the Ford Focus RS, like they discontinued that for a couple years now. Made 350 horsepower.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So the new STI makes less than a Corolla GR.
Yeah.
Which is a 1-liter 3-cylinder. I would like to remind the audience.
Yeah, I mean, and it's what? So yeah, 271
is the WRX.
It was the WRX to the STI, which is going to be 296, like
20 horsepower.
20 horsepower, not even. you know? So, like,
Well,
it's
it's
not
25 horsepower.
25. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's
And-
not like it's nothing, but it's also like for how much that car is going to cost, you're better off with
Oh, yeah,
an
right there.
STI.
Subaru will only sell 500 copies. They're making 500. They're giving you 25 horsepower. So it's going to cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
And here's the most egregious part. Here's the kicker. CVT only.
Yeah. Right. So who's going to give a fuck? Like, they threw money away. They're just throwing money away
To
on
quote
this.
the that dude in blue, which is where I first heard about this.
Yeah.
As if these manufacturers couldn't get more tone deaf.
Yeah.
Like, I swear to God, the Evo died,
Yeah.
and Subaru just completely gave up.
Yeah.
They had no reason to, like, push the STI. And now
Yeah.
it's languishing. Like, that's the death spiral of a brand. They let it languish, and then
Yeah.
they get upset that no one's buying their shit and they have no money to develop new models. It's because you let it go.
Yeah.
You stop
Yep.
trying.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think Subaru's necessarily in any danger. They have a pretty dedicated following, and their bread and butter cars sell pretty decently, especially when you go out like anywhere that's got bad winters or like inclement weather. They,
Yeah.
they usually do pretty good. My parents have a Subaru.
Yeah. And like the marketing with like the Outback and Foresters, they just put golden retrievers in them.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, I want one.
But like, I always kind of, to me, it feels like when a car brand gives up on its Halo model,
Yeah.
that's the first symptom of a rot starting inside.
yeah.
You look at
Absolutely.
Mitsubishi, they gave up all of their sports cars. Now they're
Yeah.
completely fucking irrelevant. Chrysler, they dropped the SRT8 300. Now what do they sell? They sell a Pacifica.
Yeah.
Do they sell anything else?
No.
No.
Yeah.
They're barely hanging on. The only reason they're hanging on is because they were the parent company of Dodge and Jeep,
Right.
and now Ram, I guess.
Yeah.
So like this is the beginning of like a rot that if it goes unchecked, like the company falls apart.
Yeah.
I've always like thought you need a Halo car that kind of sets the tone and it makes the brand itself desirable. Like, you know, you might not be able to afford a Nissan GTR, but at least they have something to aspire to.
Yeah, or even the Z. Even the new Nissan
The
Z
Z's
is
got a whole,
pretty
that's a
expensive
whole
as
other
well.
thing
But
that we can talk about.
yeah.
That they, I don't know if it's Nissan's fault or if it's the dealer's fault, but that's a whole other thing because the Supra is selling pretty okay. I mean, it's not a volume mover, but like I've seen plenty of them around, and it
Yeah.
has that, you know, charismatic presence
Yeah.
that, you know, lends Toyota some street cred, I guess.
Yeah, and I think with them sharing the BMW engine, BMW has such a huge cult following, especially with all like the new
Well, the
BMWs
engine that they're
are out.
using, and I don't have an issue with Subaru going with partnering with BMW.
Yeah.
Because who else makes a good straight six nowadays?
I mean, Toyota.
Oh, yeah.
Partnering.
Yeah, I don't fault Toyota for partnering with BMW because who else makes a good straight six?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And on top of that, I do think I think it's a huge factor. There's so much aftermarket support, R&D,
And that engine
into
is a
that
good engine.
and it's a good engine. Like they chose right for, especially, obviously there's, BMW makes better engines, but like for that, I mean, bro, like it's great. And those cars are making tons of power. So like you can be a Toyota fan or just be a BMW fan and go like, you know what? Like I'm familiar with this engine. They use it in a lot of cars. Like, fuck yeah.
And
like that also
Speaking of the Supra, just reminded me of
Yeah.
another thing to bash Subaru on.
Yeah.
You remember when the Supra first came out? They only offered an automatic.
Yeah.
And the engineers, or maybe not the engineers, but like Toyota reps basically said, stop asking about a manual transmission. Just stop. We're not doing it. But people kept bugging them
Yeah.
about it. And then eventually, what did they do?
They made it.
They released a manual version
Yeah.
because BMW already had the manual in the M4.
Yeah. So
Or
you
not
could-
the M4, the what is it? The Z4? Yeah, I think it's the Z4.
I'm not sure. Not sure actually. That is a good question. I'm not even
Yeah, Z4.
okay.
Yeah, that's
Where the
and again,
manual-
I think the Z4 looks better than the Supra. I would rather have a Z4 than a Supra.
Ooh, that is controversial.
I mean,
I mean, technically speaking, they're definitely like kind of two different classes, but like chassis size.
No,
because we're
they're
talking
chassis
convertible.
mates.
We're talking about
Toyota
convertible.
took this chassis and made the
okay,
Supra
but
from
it's
it.
we're talking convertible to like not.
Don't give a fuck. It looks better.
Yeah. But like you know how it goes. Like where people like it doesn't matter. Like if there was a convertible Supra, people wouldn't buy it. Is my opinion. Is that people don't like when you see a convertible, you go, oh, that's a slow old person's car. Like you want like full body. You don't want like
Okay, well, what about
a
that?
car that twists. Yeah, I've never seen one of those fucking things.
No, it's a concept, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
BMW Z4 Touring concept.
Yeah, and like that would be cool.
That's
but,
sick. I love that.
Yeah, but everybody
actually.
knows that like with a convertible comes chassis flex
And leaks
it just-
eventually.
Yeah, leaks, issues,
But hey, it's BMW.
problems. It's heavier.
If they
it's
could
more
get
expensive.
if they could get a convertible right, it's going to be BMW.
Well, either way, I'm just saying that like people know that they're more expensive, they're heavier, they flex more. It's not as strong as a body, and convertibles just have this like
Stigma.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so people won't buy them. So, but I understand that they share.
Okay. Well,
like,
you
a
and
chassis,
me
but
kind
I
of
think
share
that-
taste when it comes to like car design. Can you look at that and tell me the Supra looks better than that?
Yes, I think it does. Pull up the Supra. I
Dude,
like
the Supra is, to quote Dane Cook, it's not fat, it's just shapes. It is bulbous. It's got too many curves. It's too busy. I hate it. I will go on record right now saying I do not like the Supra at all. And it's not like, oh, you just haven't seen it in person. Because I've experienced cars that like don't look good in pictures, but you see them in person, you're like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty in person. I still
Yeah.
hate them.
Yeah. I think think
Hate's a strong word,
There's an old
I don't like
Z4 hardtop convertible.
Well, the
and that's
older-
what it reminds me of. Is like how frumpy the trunk is, and then like just the sort of like body lines where like it seems like the hood almost swoops up. We'll pull that up next.
Yeah, I'll
but-
even be charitable and get a good looking picture. That
is a good looking
fucking
picture.
lumpy.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm a fan.
I just think this looks cleaner.
It does look good. I mean, honestly, like I think that this is what I'll say. I think that if someone told me to design a car, it would look a lot closer to the Z4 than it would the Toyota Supra.
I don't like the Squidward nose. I don't like how many fucking weird curves and body lines there are. Especially if you put the new Supra next to a Mark IV,
Yeah.
which is just clean.
Yeah.
One word to describe the Mark IV Supra, clean.
Well, yeah, but that was also like the sign of the times, huh?
Yeah.
Like
And that's a problem I levy at a lot of modern design, including the Subaru WRX. It's
click
too fucking
click that
busy.
one.
Which one?
Yeah, that one right there. Like I feel like that's a little bit better at representing all like the misshapen parts that you don't like. I enjoy all that. I enjoy all of these like body lines. I'm also a fan.
Sacrilege compared to the
But
last one.
yeah, I know. But what are they gonna like make a plain car? Because like to be honest, like I'm a fan also of because and I can't just like say body kits because people will be like yo racer like but like the body kits for Supras, the body kits for S chassis E36 like E46 like those cars
Those look purposeful. This looks bloated.
I think it's a good attempt, at like making it look cool. Do me a favor, pull up the GR86. Because I think that
I love the new GR86.
I was going to say,
actually.
I think you are. I knew that you would be a fan because I think this represents more of what the Supra.
This
I
is
know
what
it's,
I think
I
the
know
Supra
it's,
should be.
Exactly.
Like in terms of
Yes.
design language.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Design language.
Because
Because
it's
obviously,
got the same, like, especially in the back, it's got the same hips and duckbill, but it's just done so much better.
Yeah. Like if you told me like this was the new Toyota Supra and like the pictures,
Well, they'd have to scale it up.
obviously,
stretch it out a little
the
bit.
pictures don't depict like the actual
And here's
size
the
of
thing,
it.
like,
But if they just size like exactly what you're saying, if they just size that up, like you're kind of looking at the old Supra.
I think this design
Mark
would
IV.
actually work really well scaled up and
Yeah.
stretched out a little bit. It's not like too crowded now, but I think it would look better with more space for every individual design element to breathe on its own.
Yeah.
I think this design would scale very well to be, put up to supersize.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a much cleaner design. There's a lot less going on, and I just think it looks better.
I would completely agree. I think that the GR86 looks 10 times better than the Supra. I'll say that.
A lot of people are going to hate us for that, but you know what? It's
Hey,
the
look,
truth.
hot take.
It's
hot
my
take.
truth.
Yeah, hot take. I also think that what I'm not a fan of about like the GR86 and the FRS ever since they've all come out.
The engine?
Because well, yes, of course. Yeah, the engine for sure. But like I wasn't like an immediate bandwagon fan because I always thought that the FRS, the early models, they were a little less tall. Like not ride height, but like body size. Like how much door there is. They seem like they're very tall cars and they're very narrow.
Mm-hmm.
So like to your point, if we did give it the dimensions that like a Supra had, like a Mark IV Supra had in like '98, if we could like flatten it out, widen it, lengthen it, like now you have like the correct dimension.
I mean,
they just seem like they're like too compact of this little car. But it also kind of gives the vibe, which is why it certainly deserves the name of the GR86 or AE86 GT whatever.
GT86 I think is briefly called.
Yeah. But because it does kind of carry the same characteristics that an old AE86 has.
Mm-hmm.
It's like where
being
it was lightweight,
fun to throw around,
but like also it's kind of squatty. It's a hatchback,
Mm-hmm.
It was a shorter car, so like it works in like those dimensions. But yeah, I would agree. I think that you're totally right that like I like the Supra, but if they had
I think it's ugly.
I know, but I think you're right though. If they had made like an upscaled version of this and called it the Supra, just stretched it out, made it wider, made it longer.
Scale everything up to fit and be proportionate. I don't want the same problem the WRX has with too tiny lights and all that sink into the bodywork.
Yeah, you'd literally have to like scale it all up, and then.
But you could make it work.
Yeah,
I feel like you definitely could, and I do think like the newest generation of the GR86 and the Subaru BRZ is the best looking for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
The first generation was good,
especially this one. This one is like far better.
It's
but just
good.
the Toyota version looks far better
Yeah.
than the Subaru and the Scion version.
I always thought the Scion originally, but Toyota looked a little bit more aggressive than the Subaru version.
Yeah,
and I think going back to the first gen, it was just they both had trapezoid grills, but Subaru's was the wide part at the top, and it made it look happy.
Yeah,
and the Scion had the wide part at the bottom, which made it look angry. And
yes,
so it's always been a bit more aggressive.
Yeah,
but I thought the first generation was good, but it was a little like I almost want to say too sharp. Too like sharp edged in its design. It had a lot of hard lines, and the way the taillights were like two shapes pushed together.
Right.
And then the second generation, I didn't like the facelift, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Especially the FRS, or I guess the GT86. I don't know them too well, but
I think the GT86 technically is the Corolla.
No. GT86. Yeah, this generation, I don't like that grill.
Oh, right.
It's out of place design elements that I just don't like.
Yeah, it's a little teeth.
Yeah. Because the rest of the car is like relatively straight, and it's got these soft curves, and then you got these random sawtooth teeth in the middle that doesn't follow any contours, or there's nothing that matches it in the rest of the grill.
Yeah, if they pull the 2 points out of the bottom and then you lower the top of the grill a bit. Like I think that like just making that grill smaller just that way.
Well, here it's black and you can barely see them, and it looks better.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because it does everything that you and me were saying. It makes it harder to see the points, and it makes it harder to tell where the grill actually ends. And you're like, yeah, that looks decent.
Yeah, that looks good.
Or this body kit right here that flattens it.
Yeah,
like it looks better.
Yeah.
But the generation after this, the current generation, I think they nailed the styling.
Yeah.
And like you just kind of brought up, and that's a bit of a revelation to me. But yeah, I think it would make a good Supra if they had used that design language on the Supra.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot better than what they settled on.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
And again, I still think the Z4 looks better. You might disagree with me on that, but I think the Z4 looks better.
Like I said,
especially if they made a hard top.
I mean,
come on.
Right. Yeah, the hard top does look good.
I mean, that's not I don't think that's a real thing. That's just something.
Yeah, honestly, you give me that like hard top version, and you want to compare it to like what could have been the FRS BRZ version.
That's a harder,
right?
That's a much harder decision.
Well, right, because like the FRS BRZ could have been BMW, Toyota, and like one's a Supra and then one's a Z4, but it's the same car. Like I think that passes. I think that passes for being a modern day Supra. Like if they wanted,
honestly, it looks closer to the Supra than the actual.
But like I said, I mean, look, this is my thing. Is that I think that if I got to pick between the two, I would take a Supra over the Z4, but I think that if you gave me the crayon and I had to draw up like the design for this,
It would look like a Z4.
it would look like a Z4. Yeah, and my heart would go to that style because I enjoy that styling. I don't, but
It's
but
just
once,
cleaner to me.
for sure. But once someone actually put, the Supra out and like I got to see it, I was like, oh, okay. Like I do like that. I wouldn't have thought of it, but I do like that.
Somehow we got
Yeah.
into car design instead of what we're actually talking about.
But
The
I'm
reason
enjoying,
I brought up-
enjoying it because
Yeah.
I do want to. Let me do like one more tangent because we already brought it up on the last podcast. I just want to go because like the ZN6, which is like the BRZ FRS GT86 platform, like. Because I do truly believe that it's the next like S chassis for drifting and just like
It's shaping up that
road
way for
racing
sure.
in general.
Yeah.
It's become like a really really like well put together chassis. But it's been a long road for me to becoming a fan, and it wasn't until the GT86 where I'm starting to come around.
This new
because
generation.
Yeah, because the same thing. I've always had a trouble with like the taillights, and honestly, I think that's what I hate the most about the car. Even the new one, the new GT86, I still hate that. I think I like those taillights better.
Nah, this is
than
what
the
I was
new
talking about when I
ones.
said it was like two different shapes mushed together.
I know, but I still like the new taillights are like those you were just saying, like the Honda Civic taillights.
Honda Civic has good taillights. What can I say?
Well, it's still. I mean, it's like to me, like it just.
I think it fits better.
I think
It
you're
just
right.
flows
Now I'm
together
seeing it
better.
again. Yeah, I'm seeing it again.
Like-
I think it does actually fit better.
That was one of the
Let me
things
put
that like
one up.
really turned me on to it. I'm like, oh, that looks so much better. Like the whole,
No, you're right.
like, yeah, I'll give it to you. They are kind of like Civic taillights.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely squished down a lot more and
Yeah.
stretched out, but like it makes this back end so much more cohesive and it
Yeah.
flows so much
The spoiler's so
better.
sick.
And with a little duckbill, yeah.
The duckbill, yeah.
Put that up on screen. We got to
Yeah.
emphasize what we're talking about here. But
Yeah,
like
so
everything just fits together better. You've got this hip line here, which is not nearly as pronounced as the Supras, but it's
Right.
pronounced enough to give it that like athletic
Yeah.
look.
Yeah.
And it flows perfectly into the taillights to go all the way across, and they're smooth. There's no jagged
Yeah.
edges. It just, everything flows together so much better.
and that's where I love plastic on the bottom where the tailpipes are underneath. I love that.
It
like
mimics
a
it mimics
valence.
oh god,
Like a diffuser.
yeah, a diffuser. Thank
Yeah.
you. It mimics a diffuser, and it also makes the back end look less tall.
Yeah.
That's a classic trick. Any car that's got like black cladding along the bottom is because with paint, it looks way too tall.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and even like the headlights go so far. I mean, just being so much better looking. Obviously, the grille's still big, but like
yeah, but it
the-
suits it.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I enjoy it, but like my problem is that like it's just so small of a car, and it takes doing like big body kits like that that blue one right there. Like it takes doing body kits like that like make it wider, and then you forget about how short it is, and like
Well, I
but
mean,
like
the
with doing those
small
kind of
size
body
is
kits, you need like way extended control arms and crazy,
Offset
it's
on
like
your
drift
rims and all that.
stance, yeah.
But I mean, it wears it well.
It wears it so well. Yeah, dude. He put a little body on it, put some hips on it, That's good stuff.
Flares.
Yeah. But again, like that's like also the thing is that these cars are cheap to buy brand new, relatively
Yeah,
speaking.
honestly, if I had to buy a brand new car, and this is me being a single,
just
single guy, no
no back
responsibilities. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I can daily drive my '62 Buick. It's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, this is a good daily.
yeah, like if I had to buy a brand new car, this is on my short list easily.
Yeah.
because
absolutely.
it's cheap, it's fun, and hopefully the engine doesn't blow up.
Well, yeah, and that's the other part, and that's what I harped on like on the last podcast where I was
Warranty.
talking about like, well, fuck it, but like I just mean like, for the market, like as the S chassis have been, they were just like
No one wanted the KO.
kind of crappy little cars. That
They
had,
dropped the SR20 in it.
yeah, they had pickup truck engines, and like nobody really cared about them. They were like economy sports cars to begin with, So like
This is
they were all over the place.
The biggest reason why I love this car, even if I wasn't in love with its styling in the previous generations, is because of what it represents.
Yeah.
The cheap, affordable,
Right.
just practical enough to be a daily
Yeah.
sports car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the
then,
Miata used to be the only thing in that role, and that's even less practical than this.
Right.
You've got less storage. Like that is a hard car to make your only car.
Yeah.
You need to be. Well, I guess I could do it
Yeah.
personally, but
Yeah. Even a 240 had back seats.
yeah,
You know?
and a hatch,
Yeah.
trunk.
Most of them. Yeah. Like I think there's a lot more hatchbacks.
The coupes had usable trunks too.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So,
yeah,
this is a this is a dying like breed of car, and I implore Toyota and Subaru to keep making it for as long as
and to be honest, like I think it's a good thing that the engine in it is a bit weak and it's like ungodly slow, and
the
then
rumor
they
mill
just
is to
blow up.
You know what's funny? Ungodly slow. It makes over 200 horsepower. When we were growing up,
but it's a heavy car.
No, it's not.
I mean, like
it's like 2,800 pounds.
Is it?
Yes.
I thought it was like 32.
No,
dude. Oh, really?
No.
Oh, let's get the weight. Because I mean, I've heard that they're like I haven't driven one, especially not the new one.
They're slow by modern standards. What I was gonna say is, you and me would be like, oh, dude, we can strap a turbo on a Honda engine. We'll run it, 8 psi boost. So we don't blow it up and kill it right away. And we could make like 220. Yeah, and that was gonna be like we had rocket ships.
Yeah, dude.
2,800 pounds.
No fucking way. All right. And that's a brand new one too.
Yes.
I was worried. Okay.
No, they're light.
Good shit. Okay.
I love what this car stands for.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll take it back. Stand corrected. Well, now I know.
So it's slow by
it's slow by modern standards.
But to me, my brain's still in the fucking early 2000s, 90s, and all that shit.
What did the original FRSs have though?
About 200.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn. All right.
I don't know if they.
Well, I'm guessing that I'm guessing the piston rings give.
Well, what they
pretty
focused on, what they focused on with the new,
down.
what they focused on with the new engine wasn't making like more power. I think it makes a little bit more. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but what they wanted to focus on was getting rid of that torque dip in the middle of the rev range.
Yeah, I think every
day
that
killed the car.
I think every day you lose half a horsepower driving one of those Subaru engines around. So like off the rip, out of the They dyno it and then they sell it to you. It's got 210, 220, and then every day you're losing half a horsepower because they're I mean, as far as I know, like it's like unusable fast. Like it's like
228 horsepower is what the current one's making.
That's crazy. That seems good. Like I thought they were just like
You're stuck in the past, old man.
We're almost to your room, Mr. Krabs.
We're almost across the street.
Yeah. Well, but either way, I think that that engine that's in them, the fact that they do end up blowing up, like because we talked about this before, but it adds to the car being good for like aftermarket purchases and like the car community.
Dropping another engine into it.
Because that's what the car community needs. Like they need a car that they can buy as a shell blown up. But hear me out.
You're talking about. Okay, I see where you're going with it. I see where you're going with it.
Because like we have so many cars that are like BMWs, and we can list on all the cars.
A roller's cheaper than a driving car.
Yeah. So there's the world is missing that where like people can shove a different engine into this thing and it can be used on all different sorts of platforms of like road racing to like drifting or even rally.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
you're talking about like because the engine's kind of weak and it blows up, that makes the secondhand market just full of cheap rollers.
Yeah,
that are ripe for an engine swap.
Yeah,
but
because we have fast cars like the Supra, we have the Nissan Z, we have Mustangs, of course, like Chargers. Yeah, but I mean the Mustang, Nissan Altimas. I mean,
if you don't care enough,
I mean, it depends on like what the application.
Depends on your
like
credit score.
Cars, I just mean like cars in general that like come out of the factory with like that are like properly set up. And like Mustang has done such a good job with like independent rear suspension, that kind of like stuff where like you can buy a brand new Mustang today and like it's ready to do whatever you want. Like it's ready to be whatever that car
unless you're a
needs to be.
professional, you're not going to notice that at 10/10 it's not as good as a BMW.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so there's so many of those cars. We could go on and on and on and like list all these cars, which actually might be fun at some point, of like out of the box cars that like you should buy. That might be a new segment next week. We'll just go over that. But well, there's not a car that like you can buy that's cheap and like even more than that, like in 2 years from now, it'll be blown up.
Yeah, but to counter what you're saying, just to offer like the devil's advocate, Honda
is devil's advocate. I was thinking that was akin. Because that little single cam that came in every single car and that would always blow up or would be
they don't
knocking
blow up.
or no.
They burn oil.
No.
But
either way,
here's what I'm getting at. Like every Honda had more or less a good engine. they were still perfectly fine candidates for swaps.
Oh, I see what you're
but
saying.
like
They were cheap.
they were still cheap. They were still plentiful. They were still
Yeah.
fucking everywhere.
Yeah, those days
you-
of making a good engine and
Yeah,
then
it's
them
gone.
being still cheap.
But the point
that's
I wanted to
behind
make
us.
was that you can still achieve that status of being like the everyman's race car and being a viable platform to swap shit
yeah.
with a good engine.
But isn't that fucked up where like Toyota almost did the same thing with a lot of their like economy cars, but like those
They
cars
didn't-
have retained value like crazy, but you can still buy like a 98 Civic today for like $1,500. Like somehow the Honda community has like just slipped right underneath of inflation.
Do you know who does that? The non-car enthusiasts. We're a minority. We're a vast minority
Yeah.
of car buyers.
Yeah.
But John Doe and his wife are looking for a car for Junior.
Yeah.
And, John Doe's got a decent job in middle management and has some money to burn. Junior's been a good kid, got
Yeah.
good grades. Well, let's get him a good car. A good car that's not going to break down, that, he can drive his friends around in. They're going to go buy a Toyota.
Yeah.
And they've got a lot more money than you and me.
But still, I see what you're saying. But my point is that like what exactly was it that like where people didn't see the same reliability?
It's the mainstream people buying these cars that are pricing it out of the broke enthusiasts.
So, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
Who's gonna have more money?
well,
A 16-year-old?
No. No. Like, you're missing what I'm saying. I'm saying like why do people think that Toyota was better than Honda as far as reliability?
Toyota's bigger.
Okay. Yeah.
They've been
Like
around.
there's like some kind of, that's what I'm saying. Like there has to be like some kind of marketing, like some rip in the
Look
matrix
at the modern
that,
day
like,
market right now. Like people
Yeah.
think Honda is reliable, but if you ask anybody,
It's
like,
not.
what's the most reliable brand? Toyota.
yeah. Yeah.
And they've always had that reputation, and they've always been a bit more reliable than Honda. Honda just you trade that reliability off for a much more fun car to drive.
Yeah.
Until recently,
Or easier to work
until
on,
recently,
arguably.
arguably, yeah. But throughout the '90s, like Honda might have not like practically speaking, I think they were just as reliable, but Toyota has always had that reputation.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
mean,
because they appeal to the mainstream,
Toyota didn't have, or Honda didn't have the Hilux.
that
they
too.
didn't. Yeah, they didn't have the
Honda didn't dabble in
what's
the heavy
what's the
duty
big-
like market.
Yeah, what's the big SUV? Why am I blanking?
Oh, the Sequoia,
No,
4Runner?
Sequoia. One more.
4Runner,
What's the big one? Full frame.
the Sequoia,
No, bigger than that.
Land Cruiser.
Land Cruiser.
That one, okay, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Speaking of which, the
So,
new Land
I
Cruiser is
think-
a good looking SUV, but
Dude,
I don't want to
I
get more
fuck with the Land
distracted. We'll
Cruiser
we'll
heavy.
circle
but that's
back
my
to
point.
that.
Is that like I guess like Toyota did actually kind of pave their own legacy.
Toyota had a wider appeal.
Yeah,
They were more
earlier.
popular. Yeah, they also had the Japanese government's backing.
Oh.
Honda had to carve their own way into the export market. That's a
Damn,
whole
I didn't
other
know
thing.
that. Dude, I'm gonna jot that down.
That's a whole other thing. If we do episodic stuff where we do deep dives, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But Toyota had a wider appeal.
Yeah.
They appealed more to the average person, which again makes up the vast majority of the market, not the
Yeah.
enthusiast market. As much as we'd love the car world to center around us,
Yeah.
and
You
we
saying
deserve
it
it.
doesn't? We
but
did.
they had a wider appeal, so more
Yeah.
people just knew about Toyota. So more people believed and experienced Toyota reliability than Honda. So because of that, the average Joe who's buying a car for their kid has more money than the broke 16-year-old who wants to go
Yeah.
fast. So they're willing to pay more, and that's what drives the price.
Yeah.
That's why the Toyotas retain their value.
Yeah, see, like, and you're even looking at it from like a go fast, but I think there was still a market for people that were just like, well, the Honda Civic was just a little cheaper, and that's all. Mm-hmm.
And it was cheaper because it was broke boys like us lowballing the shit out of the market.
Do you think so? I don't think it was us.
Well,
I
then
think that it was just a little.
It's also a reputation thing. You had a
Yeah.
bunch of us driving these oil burning Hondas like fucking maniacs up and down the
Yeah.
road. They're like,
'Cause
oh, that's a junk car. I don't want that.
It could be
In
argued
the
that, like,
enthusiast circle, like the Honda Civic's legendary. To the average Joe, it's like, oh, you mean that asshole that drives up and down my street at 3 a.m.
yeah,
and blows smoke everywhere?
Yeah.
That car's got to be junk.
well, no. You're looking like too far, like too new. I'm talking about like
No, I'm
back in the
talking about,
day, like in 1995, like where was the.
Oh, they were paying MSRP.
Yeah, I think.
I thought we were talking about the secondhand market.
Oh, true. Yeah. Yeah, but I was just kind of stuck on like how come. Yeah, like how would Honda have not
Toyota's
had, like,
just been the bigger company.
the same thing that
They've
yeah,
just always had the
Toyota.
bigger market share.
Yeah,
And again,
Yeah.
that leads to more people directly
think that-
experiencing and then passing on to other people
yeah,
the virtues of Toyota.
yeah. I think there's like slight pieces as well that make like a Toyota a little bit fancier on the inside, even when it comes down to base model.
Actually, Toyota has a reputation for being bare bones for the money you pay.
I mean, I don't. Oh, maybe based on the money, but like, dude, they had things like the Avalon. You know, you could buy
Yeah, the
a
Avalon was nice,
Toyota.
but that was never a big volume seller.
No, but you get it, right? Because like you have a brand that like can also sell the same exact car,
Or the Toyota
but like
Soar.
fancier. Yeah, right.
Is it Solera? That ugly thing.
Yes,
They also
the
had the Lexus
Solera.
version.
Yes, exactly. The Solera, which was like a
Hideous.
two-door. It was a two-door Camry, and they came convertible.
Yeah, they were only convertible.
Oh, that's why.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
No, there was a coupe, I think. They
Yeah,
were
I think
hideous.
there was a coupe.
regardless. They
Yeah.
were hideous.
yeah, they were. But you could get them.
No, Japanese
V6.
cars kind of. Maybe the average Joe doesn't notice it, but Japanese cars tend to have less advanced features for the price you're paying.
Yeah.
But they're banking on their reputation for just being like reliable and problem free.
Yeah.
Which is perfectly valid.
Yeah,
Minus like lately.
yeah,
Even Toyota's succumbed to
Oh,
shit
yeah.
just breaking.
yeah. No, now everything has changed.
Everything's fucking garbage.
It's all different.
That's
now.
why I drive a car from 1962.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually,
When keeping it real goes wrong.
so
Here, let's before
You
you,
know
get
what's
into
funny?
this, I had to pee.
oh, perfect.
This is a good segue. We'll
Yeah.
take a pee break.
We'll pick back up.
yeah,
on
we'll
this.
pick right back up. So we left off.
Yeah.
You were telling something.
We were. I don't even remember how we got to it. But yeah, I don't remember how. Whatever. We're just gonna dive right into this.
Yeah.
Before we do actually shift gears completely, I just want to circle back.
Oh
to
yeah, we'll start.
what we originally started talking about. Subaru, you're dumb.
Yeah.
We ended up on the FRS and a bunch of other like talking about Hondas and Toyotas because I brought up the Supra in regards to the new STI.
Yeah.
So to circle way the hell back,
Yes.
they didn't have a manual version at first, and then people kept poking and prodding, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
That they need
The Supra
to
needs
get
to
a
have
manual Supra.
transmission. Yeah.
And after they did that, this last year, the take rate for the manual Supra,
Yeah.
65%. More than half of the Supras sold
Holy
were manual.
shit.
And Subaru's going to shit on us with a CVT only limited edition down on horsepower piece of shit STI as a final hurrah to a legendary nameplate.
Yeah, and not offer a manual transmission.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. Yeah, the like to only sell 500 of them. Like, I mean, why not make that a manual transmission? Like, it's just ridiculous. And I guess
at
like
this point, it's why bother?
yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said at the beginning. I was like, this just seems like there was a waste of money. They're just dumping money away to just pretend like they're doing something good for the car community.
No.
Like, yeah, fuck them.
Again, to quote that dude
Yeah.
in blue, as if they couldn't get more tone deaf.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said the same thing about what's it called, Honda, and them not wanting to spend the money to make a two-door Integra.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we had that whole conversation. This is like one of the first couple episodes we did, where if you're gonna pick up a legendary nameplate,
Yeah.
you need to follow up where the most iconic one left off.
Yeah.
Dodge got it right with the Challenger.
Yep.
Chevy got it right with the Camaro.
Mm-hmm.
Toyota. You and me talked at length about this again in one of our earlier
I
episodes.
think Ford with the Mustang as well.
Well, Ford never dropped the Mustang.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
But I had said when, and I think I even brought up that one image. I don't know if we put it in. I might be able to find it on Instagram, but it would take forever, so I'm not going to do that. But they didn't keep it close enough to the Mark IV when they picked it back up.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Mark IV is the most iconic one, and it's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I found a render on Instagram because, again, like it was controversial when they first released it, and people were warming up to it now. And I've said my spiel on that whole like. You know a good design when it's immediately a classic.
Yeah.
When you have to warm up to it, that's bullshit. You didn't do as good.
Yeah.
BMW, I'm talking to you with the M4.
Yeah.
Anyway, they didn't keep it close enough to the Mark IV. That render that I found made it, stylistically much closer to the Mark IV.
Right.
And it looked phenomenal.
Way better.
So,
yeah.
Again, Honda did the same thing. They didn't read the room. They grafted a hatchback without even changing the overall shape onto an Acura ILX and said, Integra.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw the unveiling of it. When they pulled the cover off, it was fucking silent in that room. None of the press was just like clapping. They're just like, that's it?
Yeah.
That's the hype?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And
also like, who's the guy from the Smoking Tire?
Matt Farah?
Matt Farah, who was just creaming over that thing because Motor Trend gave him the car and he had to like talk it up and how great it. Yeah, he did. He had it for a week. He was like, he couldn't shut the fuck up about it.
And here's the thing.
And I'm not a huge fan of him in the first place. Just like there's some things about like characteristics about people that like just kind of rub me the wrong way. I think he's a great guy.
Well, now we're never gonna have Matt Farah on our podcast.
Well, that's fine, and I don't think he ever would do our podcast, even if we were bigger than he was, because he's. Let's not go there. Let's
just stop.
But my point is that like Matt, like to me, like
it wasn't just Matt Farah though. It was every automotive like they were trying every automotive journalist or automotive like journal outlet was trying to gaslight us into
that's what I'm saying.
A good car.
And like Matt, maybe I'm
driving characteristics. I'm sure it's phenomenal. It's the same chassis as a Type R, and no one has bad things to say about how the Type R drives.
Yeah,
that's not the point.
Yeah, but nobody wanted to say the quiet part out loud. That like, hey, I don't care. This is wrong. This is not an.
When
Integra.
you think of Integra, you think of a DC2.
Yeah. You think of the 2-door version of the car. Like you think of like real,
like trust me, and like the internet white knights that want to like defend Honda. Like I'm a Honda fanboy.
Yeah,
you and me both.
Yeah,
I'm not afraid to tell Honda they fucked up.
Yeah,
but like there are some hardcore fanboys where Honda can do no wrong.
Yeah,
and they're like, well, the Integra's always been just like a tarted up Civic. Yeah, it's like no, I get that, but the iconic one was the coupe. Yeah, the hatch. So that's the 2-door.
That's my point. So like if you're Matt Farah and who has got lots of money, and then Motor Trend and Acura and Honda, they all come to you and they say like, hey, we need you to review the Integra. Like clearly,
it's not a paid review, but like there's a lot of strings attached.
There's a lot of strings attached. Yeah, like clearly, like if there's no like, I would rather it be that there were strings attached and he had to just do it for a check, right? I rather that story than to think that someone like Matt Farah who has
you'd rather be a paid promotion than someone lacking integrity.
Yeah,
and it might be his genuine opinion that the car is good to drive and it's good to live with, because honestly, it probably is. Yeah. But like you said, they're not saying the quiet part out loud, and the reason why it was a controversial car to begin with. Right. It's not a fucking Integra.
It's not an Integra. It's a classy version of a Honda Civic, and that's it.
Which is what the Integra was, but they're missing the spiritual part.
Yeah,
of it.
Exactly. And like you said, just because it is actually a good car doesn't mean that like we get to celebrate it as an Integra. It just doesn't seem like it's doing it justice. And like as a real car enthusiast, like I just feel like they missed the mark on that, and the fact that like no one recognizes that, no one's pushing back. Just how like a lot of people are pushing back on the STI, including us right now. It's just like, yeah, what a flop, man. It sucks, and I hate to shit on Matt Farah. I think that let me leave my opinions of Matt Farah out, but because again he's a nice guy. Like but like. That just stuck in my head for like the most part of just being like, it's hard to like hold integrity with someone like that who's such a big part of the car community that also is not like representing what that car should have been. It's like, say what that car should have been. That's not fair. That's not a good picture.
Why can't I find just like a regular fucking stock photo of this car? Oh, that might work. That might work.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh no. So
All right, put this up on screen.
okay.
So which one of these is the Integra and which one is the ILX?
So Integra, ILX.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You had to think about it.
I did have to think about it. But again, like you know what my opinion is of both of those cars? Shit. I don't like either of them. I'm not a fan of either of them. And honestly, I think I would rather have the ILX than the Integra. And I don't think the Integra looks good at all.
And if anybody has no idea, like if there's anyone who just doesn't know about older cars because, you know, age, whatever, and they stumble across this, if you say to anyone in the car community, Acura Integra,
like the true car community.
Let me just show you what they're thinking of.
Now the yellow one.
Well, I wanted to keep it the same color as the rest.
True.
Just so we have a comparison. Oh, God damn it.
Damn it. Well, while we work on the pictures. Oh, there you go. Up one. Up a little bit. Right there. Yeah.
That's way bigger, but yeah.
Yeah.
That. It's wedge-shaped. It's got the bug eyes, or if they want to do the JDM, or if they even want to follow up on the Acura RSX, which everywhere else in the world was a Honda Integra.
Yeah.
Like this is what people were thinking
we were
of.
aiming for.
This is what we were expecting. This is what we were hoping for.
Yeah. Like something akin to a sports car, you know? Like, and again, like this is like kind of follows into like an economy style sports car.
It's a pretty up Civic, but do you know what the Civic of this era looked like?
Yeah.
Not that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, we shouldn't be able to like not tell them apart. It shouldn't be difficult to tell them apart.
And again, what makes it most egregious as just like a straight up cash grab was the fact that the ILX existed.
Yeah.
Before that. They literally took an ILX. The ILX had a regular trunk. It didn't have a hatch. So they welded the trunk lid to the windshield and put the hinge at the top of the rear windshield.
Yeah.
And then put embossed Integra on the bumpers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's literally the only throwback, like stylistically, that connects the new Integra to the old Integra is that they have an embossed Integra emblem on the bumper.
Yeah.
Nothing else connects.
Give me the back and forth from like the Integra to the old Integra. Like what is that, Private?
Hell, should we put up the four-door Integra of this era?
Yeah.
Because even that
looks good. Yeah, even that is like a completely different car.
What was that, the DB something?
DB8?
Yeah. Okay, well, these are all like type
I think
Rs.
DB8
I just want to bring up a bog standard four-door Integra.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, you know, the JDM headlight one honestly is like a good representation because, like,
Well, that's what everyone else in the world got.
Yeah. Well, but I just mean just in the sense that, like, because no one's going back to, like, those
This is as
headlights.
close as we're going to get.
Yeah. It's a little bit stancied out, but, you know, it's modified.
It's hard to find a stock picture of them.
I got you.
They all get messed with.
I know. But
like,
either way, like, that one's a little bit lower,
that
nicer
looks
wheels.
Nice.
But,
it looks sporty. It still looks like an Integra.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It still looks like an Integra. It's still, you know, like, again, like a sportier, like, version of a car. You know? It's like... And like they did a four-door hatchback, which never existed.
That wasn't a hatchback. That was a trunk.
That's what I'm saying. Like the new one is a four-door hatchback.
Yeah.
And like a four-door hatchback never existed in the old versions. You know, like it had a trunk. It was a sedan.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So instead, they just
botched
the history.
Sake.
They botched the final production.
Just for comparison's sake.
It looks nothing like what it's supposed to look like. It has no qualifying factors.
For everyone who wants to say that it was just a prettied up Civic.
Yeah.
Here's what the same four-door Civic of the era looked like. You're going to tell me that the Integra looked anything like that?
Yeah. No.
Like it was always more than just its relation to the Civic.
Yeah.
That's why the new Integra sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, so like it doesn't matter if they shared the same like kind of chassis. It was a totally different car. And instead, like nowadays, we have the Integra is exactly the same. It's bullshit.
With a different fascia.
Yeah. It's bullshit.
And again, they picked the least recognizable, like, I guess, body style of the Integra, like the least celebrated, the one that people just didn't care about, minus Furman, who loved his sedans. Shout out Furman.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a failure. I think, another thing is too is that like these cars today, the Honda Civic, like they're all just way too big.
Too complicated.
I just mean in the sense like physically they're large.
Yeah.
They're large cars. So like I think every single one of them, even the Honda Civic is phenomenal as it is.
It's a perfectly livable car.
Yeah, but it misses the like sportiness of like the old like SI Honda Civic,
That's a whole other, like...
I know.
Especially, you know what I noticed?
Yeah.
In the 90s, the Type R lived above the SI, but the SI still had its own, like, prestige.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were all the rest of the Civics. The new SI is... what? No one even fucking cares about it. If you want a sporty Civic, like, you just go right for the Type R.
Yeah.
The SI has basically been made irrelevant.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I guess I just feel like when I look at like this, and again, like this sedan's a terrible example, but like when I look at like the old SI,
the EM1,
yeah, the old Honda Civic SI from like the 90s, I like there's something about that car. There's like something cool like about that car, where like you don't see that with...
God, it's so hard to find a stock picture.
Yeah, there you go. Like, there's something cool about the stock 99 Honda Civic SI that, like, there's, like, this is not a normal car. This is a car that, like, anybody can look at and go, like, oh, my gosh, like, what car is that? Like, you don't, pull up in a Toyota Corolla.
Looking at it with rose-tinted
I think so, too.
glasses. Like,
that's kind of what I'm alluding to.
I love the Civic SI, but the only thing that made it stand apart from a Civic EX coupe was the badging.
Mm-hmm.
You had the SI badge on the back and the VTEC badge on the side. The little lip kit around it and the wheels. That was it.
Yeah.
And then, the interior, like, seat design was a little different, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, you might be...
I mean, but what I'm saying is that, like, from this time period, like, I would relate this to, like, I can appreciate the Toyota Corolla, the new Toyota Corolla today. Like, there's a little something to it where I'm like...
Even, like, the
it's
the
like kind of a
TRD Camrys, you're like...
Yeah.
Damn, you got
like,
something going. They got some kind of...
Something's here.
They got some pizzazz going on. And that's hilarious because... Yeah, I know I just said that, like, there's very little to distinguish this by, like, modern standards, but you're right. This car, compared to the base model versions, it had something to it.
Right. And so
the modern Toyotas do that excellently.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because you go back, like, 10 years, and the Civic Si still had that, like, cut above the rest.
Yeah, exactly.
That separate them. But you get, like, a Corolla S.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got a chrome exhaust tip. It lowered the car maybe like half an inch, if that, and no performance upgrades.
Yeah.
Or maybe that performance exhaust gave you like 5 horsepower.
Yeah. It just wasn't. It didn't.
But that's what I feel like happened to the.
That's what
I feel like that's what's happening with the SI now.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes more horsepower than a base model Civic still, but like you look at them, what's the difference between a Civic Si and a Civic Sport?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, like, now
and you got
today,
the Type R that's like well above the rest of them.
Yeah, yeah, and like the Type R does good. I think obviously
I don't have many complaints about the Type R.
And maybe they are trying to take the Type R
and the Integra Type S is
make
it Civic Type R in a tuxedo, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still think they missed with the Integra.
Yeah, I just like when you looked at a car like that, you were like, there was something a little different. And the new Honda Civic today doesn't have that. The SI doesn't have that. The Type R does. But like that's like a crazy amount of money. It was like a ridiculous amount of money. And I think even still, it's like it's rose tinted glasses for sure. But I don't see this car in the Type R today. and like I think I just hate it.
Well,
I hate it
no,
for
no,
that,
and
you know?
even even its direct ancestor, the SI, is not this car.
Right.
That died when they put a turbo on it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The SI, even though it would have, and I know why Honda did it, I 100% understand that they had to do it. Because, I don't know, this is going to make me sound fucking old, but the newer generation of people literally only care about numbers.
Yeah.
And you can only get so much out of a naturally aspirated engine.
Right. Gas mileage.
No, horsepower.
Oh, horsepower. Okay.
Like a Civic Si nowadays would not survive.
Yeah.
It just would not.
Yeah.
Perfect example, the GR86. It makes 228 horsepower of a naturally aspirated engine. Everyone, including you, ragged on it for being slow.
Yeah. It's true.
But what did we lose along the way in the pursuit of fucking horsepower? You lost that peaky, revvy, really engaging analog driving experience.
Yeah.
No turbo lag. The engine is responsive directly to what your foot fucking tells it to do.
Yeah.
That is gone.
Yeah.
And that's when the SI, that is literally the point you can point to and say the SI died.
Yeah.
Now it's just a trim level.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and like the engineering that went behind like the F20, you know, for the S2K,
Or, you know, the K20.
9,000.
And, you know, I say the
Crazy.
SI died with the turbo, but it was in its death throes when they swapped out the K20 for the K20's K24.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, to keep up with modern
Displacement.
sensibilities, we need torque. How do we get that? Up the displacement. Oh, guess what? You went from 8,000 RPM down to 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was also when they lost the old school VTEC.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it went from cam lift changing and getting that nasty crossover that everyone loved or made fun of, no in between, to just cam phasing.
Cam phasing, yeah.
So you lost that bang.
Yeah.
And that was like the heart and soul of performance Hondas.
Yeah.
So the 8th gen SI for me was the last real SI.
Yeah.
Because I had the K20 that still had that cam lift change, the 2 different cam profiles.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, that's the reality of it, is that, like, you know,
These cars can't exist
It's
anymore.
rose tinted glasses, wishing that these cars just got better with keeping exactly what it was, and it's just us old guys just wanting to hold on.
No, but there's something to be said about that, because I never grew up in the muscle car era or, you know, the carburetor era even. By the time I got my license, it was 2012.
Yeah.
That's like direct injections knocking on the door.
Yeah.
I love carbureted cars.
Yeah.
I love old cars. Even if they drive objectively in every measurable way worse than a modern car, I just... give me an old car.
Yeah.
Give me that analog feedback. Give me all of that. And it's gone now.
Yeah.
And it won't come back because, again, we're the minority. The average Joe wants to be as isolated from driving as possible. It is an inconvenience. The less they feel it, the less they experience it, the better.
Yeah.
And now that's bleeding into even the performance cars, which fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Just look at BMW.
Yeah.
They don't even use the moniker the ultimate driving machine anymore, I don't think. Because they're not about driving. They're about prestige. They're about that brand cachet.
No way. I didn't know that.
Well, the biggest car market right now is China. It's not us anymore.
I know, yeah.
And they want status,
Yeah.
not the driving, like, dynamics.
Right. Damn. Yeah, no, I wonder, like, would, I mean, as far as we can say, like, for now, I think those cars, like, still handle quite well, but you think that the, like, R&D, the development of that is slowing?
BMW will always make a car that is physically capable of handling well.
Yeah.
It's no longer a driver's car.
Yeah. But I see what you're saying, because, like, they've kind of already figured it out.
The
most of it.
The M5 weighs more than a short bed single cab F-150.
Yeah. I know. That's so crazy. We went over that on another
It weighs
podcast.
more than, I don't know about yours specifically, but like certain configurations of the full-size Ford Transit van.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will it outhandle just about everything else on the road? Sure.
Yeah.
But it's doing that through super complicated computers and traction control. What do you think that does to feedback?
Right. Numb.
What do you think that does to your driving
completely numb.
experience?
Yeah.
You're not in control of that car.
They put so much weight into the car and put so much technology to like combat it.
And that started with the GTR, I think, is like
Really?
the first that was the first modern high volume production car.
Yeah.
Where the car thought, not fought, thought its way around turns.
Yeah.
Because that thing's weight distribution is like 63% to the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that? 63-37?
Yeah.
That's fucking atrocious.
Yeah, it's terrible.
That car, if you turned off the traction control and like unplugged all the suspension and traction control computers, that car would handle like a fucking brick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that like probably close to like a Mustang or a Camaro.
They have better fucking balance.
Yeah.
They probably, if you turned off all the electronics in both cars,
Yeah.
minus like the fucking fuel injection and shit,
Yeah.
I think they'd handle better.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, because that's like that car is like crazy smart.
It's crazy
especially
capable
for like back then.
Like there
when it
is
first came
no
out.
denying it is
Yeah.
an insanely capable car.
Yeah.
But that's every performance car nowadays. I think I'm pretty sure I've gone on this tirade before, but I'm going to go on it again because it's important to me.
Sure.
If I had my own car brand,
Mm-hmm.
all of my chassis tuning and suspension tuning would be done with no electronics.
Yeah.
Put a fucking test driver in that car and then tell the engineers what's wrong.
Yeah.
And then after you get that car balanced, then you put the fucking traction control aids in it.
Yeah, that fills in the gaps. Yeah, whatever gaps like may
I don't even
be
want it
there.
to fill in the gaps. Like I just want it to enhance the capabilities that are already there.
Yeah.
Because filling in the gaps, that's what the Nissan GTR is doing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe I'm using it the wrong way, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where it's like, this is as good as it can be. Like, analog, and then,
and I want it to be damn good analog.
Yeah, right. And then like gaps is the wrong word, but it kind of is. It's like now add ABS, like now adds the stability control. If you really huck it in,
gaps is the wrong. I think gaps is the wrong word because like the GTR with its weight distribution should understeer like a fucking apartment in a fucking mudslide.
Yeah,
and then to make up for that gap in its handling ability, it's got torque vectoring and all this other shit and traction control to really undo that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want that. I want the torque vectoring to enhance what's already really good.
Yeah,
and I want road feel.
I didn't know that the weight balance was that bad. What was the balance of weight of the R34? Because that is pretty nuts, dude.
Near perfect 50-50. And then
next year they're like, look, let's throw it all out, and they'll just do computers.
50. Okay, so it's not as bad. 54 front, 46 rear.
Yeah, but still,
I could have swore like the first generation when I read about it, it was like front heavy.
Yeah, I mean it still is. I mean they did go in that wrong direction, where like there seemingly shouldn't have been a need for that.
And
what an amazing car, though. That's still a car today.
It's ridiculously capable. And of all brands, Nissan.
I know.
Modern Nissan, I should clarify.
Yeah.
Old Nissan was fucking tits. Like, no doubting old Nissan.
What are they changing on like the new versions? Because like they still make the car, but it looks identical.
Probably just all programming and power.
Yeah.
They're upping the power slowly over and tuning the traction control. I think they beefed up the transmission and all that to handle the launch control.
Yeah, but it's kind of nuts that they're just using like, the same body. I don't know.
Well, that's because Nissan's flat broke.
Yeah, I'm broke, bitch. That's crazy.
But yeah, I miss and I experienced
GT3 layout. What's that?
That's GT3. I guess that's a race car.
Oh shit.
But you and me both grew up at the tail end of like the last of the analog cars. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at this point they were all fuel injected. They had ABS, although our cars didn't half the time. But like they still had cable throttles that just did exactly what you told me. And most of the cars we grew up driving didn't have traction control. The only safety they had was ABS.
Yeah.
Which honestly I'm thankful for.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I think my Integra had ABS.
I don't think it ever worked.
Yeah.
I know on my Integra,
I don't know if I
the
ever had
fuse
it,
block, like Integras in the U.S. all had ABS.
Yeah.
The fuse block for my ABS was just missing.
Yeah.
It was just taken out.
Dude, also, so I always thought that the Integras, my Integra especially, did not handle as well as my Civic, which, like, that sounds nuts. Doesn't sound like that's how it should be, but, like, the Integra, like, it felt like the back was loose, where it felt like the car, yeah, like the car did not have the same weight balance. And
no, Integras were front heavy, and the fact that Hondas handle as good as they do with the weight distribution that they had was, an engineering miracle.
Yeah, but I feel like the old EG hatchbacks and even like
hatchbacks
the coupes,
and anything that had more weight over the back felt better. My CRV had a better weight distribution than the Civic Si.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I when I see like road racing, you don't see much of the Integra. You see a lot of like the EG coupes.
I think there's just more of them, and they're cheaper.
True. But I've seen multiple videos of Hondas crashing, and 90% of them are Integras. I think there's something to it. I think
the
there's
hatch.
something
I think
wrong
with it being the
those cars.
hatch, they just had less weight over the back because they didn't have like the hard separation point, and it's probably a bit more flex too.
But like, isn't an EG the same?
The EG Civic,
The hatchback, yeah.
No, because it had a whole
Seems like-
structure around the back versus the Integra, which had the entire rear windshield all the way to the roofline open up. That's a big
Yeah.
empty hole with no
Yeah.
reinforcements.
It's true. Yeah. And so I guess there's
Also,
there's flex, but it just even weight wise, it seems like
The Civics were just like lighter and smaller.
it just didn't make a factor because it was so much lighter.
I don't know.
Yeah, I would love to talk to Buckley again about it because we
he's
talked a lot.
He's road racing in
Yeah,
EG's hatch.
Yeah, and he's done a lot now. So like now,
Well,
I'd love
remember
to, like,
my
opinion.
Integra didn't feel as good around corners as my fucking CRV.
Yeah.
That was a combination of things. One, the CRV genuinely had a better weight distribution.
Yeah.
Two,
Not as fast.
my CRV had actual coilovers.
True.
The Integra, courtesy of the previous owner, had springs and cups, and they were all the way down to where I had half an inch of suspension travel before I was on the bump stops.
Yeah.
So if I hit a bump around a turn, car was upset.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what's nuts. Is like just hitting instead of like this
Going around
just
a clover
traveling
leaf and just and your back end steps out like half a foot.
just jumps. It literally is just gonna jump over.
Dude, me and Fluff were driving to school one day, and have you driven through Exton much?
No.
Up 30?
No.
Okay, well, going up 30 in the middle lane, it's a 3-lane road on each side, so 6 lanes total. Middle lanes through one intersection, there are 2 manholes that are offset like this, but they're both in that lane. So what I would normally do was be in the left or right lane to avoid them.
Yeah.
I was dead fucking tired that day, not paying attention, and I was in the middle lane.
Yeah.
And as I approach the intersection, it's already green. I'm doing like 45 miles an hour. I remember, oh, fuck, there's these 2 manholes, and they are sunk like a full 1.5 inches into the ground. And as I'm approaching the intersection, I look to each side. There's cars on either side. I have nowhere to go. I have to hit this fucking set of manholes. I went airborne.
Oh my god.
Just
hitting bump stops and flying
and launching myself into the air.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like
So that's why my Integra drove like shit.
yeah, for the homies, and I don't know like how much of this is like still going on. I'm sure there's still some boys out there that are cutting springs, but like
This wasn't even
man.
cut springs. This was just like the cheapest, quote unquote, legitimate route you could take.
Yeah, but so you had
Springs and cups.
yeah, so they're basically an adjustable spring.
Yeah, it's a spring with a
But is
cup
it-
on the bottom with a seat and a lock ring, and you would undo the lock ring, and then you could spin the seat down, and that would lower the car.
Yeah, but so the problem is that spring itself is so much lower, and you don't have a shock that.
Yeah, the problem is you're moving the car, but your shock is basically
Yeah.
staying the same. So when you drop the car, the shock is compressing.
Yeah. So
and
like
there goes all your suspension travel.
yeah, so the shock is now no longer really doing its job.
The shock is already bottomed out.
And blown out. It's blown out.
And blown the fuck
It's
out.
blown out, dude. It's
Surprisingly, my shocks didn't leak oil and they still worked. Because
Yeah,
in the
they're
wintertime, no, they actually, I
kidding.
promise you they worked. In the wintertime, when there was snow on the ground, I would raise the car up to give me some ground clearance so it wouldn't beach.
yeah.
And they when I raised it up, the car rode beautifully.
Yeah.
But I was about that style.
Yeah,
About that
you were.
steez.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood your steez.
Well, you understood the assignment.
I understood the assignment. Sacrifices had to be made. My door cards were shattered from like people's elbows leaning on the little armrest
Just-
and hitting bumps and
just
just
rocking
going
it.
through the plastic. But I bought it like that. That wasn't me. It was already broken.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, and some of these door cards today, I just saw someone posted something about like a new 18-ish to 22 Silverado that
I
if you
know
wanna
what video you're
replace-
talking about.
Yeah.
Everything's pop riveted in. Like nothing's replaceable. Your
Yeah.
door switch goes, you need a door card.
Yeah.
Your window switch, your locks, your door handle. On his door handle broke.
Yeah.
You need a whole door card.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, they made them nicer, and now they're like, well, you got to buy a whole new one now. And it's
I
like,
think that might just be
fuck.
Chevy because working at Kia, like every single component screwed out.
Well, bro, that's Kia. Kia.
Well, shout out Kia. The one thing they did
Shout
right.
out, that they still come apart. Yeah. But,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how those things are made. And then just because they're so cheap, they're made to be put back together cheap. They make it easy to put them together from the factory. It's kind of like their
Yeah,
thing.
Kia had many things wrong, but the one thing I'll give them is the cars were actually decent to work on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
Every car is going to have their fucking bugaboos, but,
Yeah.
compared to anything fucking German, dream to work on.
Yeah.
Unless, they mistranslated the wiring diagram and you're chasing an issue with the wires and, you're like, well, I don't have continuity here. This must be the problem. And then you realize, oh, the diagram's just wrong. I'm looking at the wrong pin.
And so
Ask me how I know about that.
Is that a problem on Kia just providing the
That
wrong
was-
information? Or
Yeah, it's happened to me once or twice, but the most egregious part was where I was helping my coworker. So I already wasn't getting paid,
yeah.
flat rate.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, look it up. It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I was helping Alex
Yeah.
diagnose an issue, and we're like chasing this problem, and I'm like, the readings I'm getting with my multimeter just don't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
And finally, I check the diagram, and they're showing this color on this pin on this connector, and I look at the connector, I'm like, that's not the right color. The pinout's fucking wrong on the
Dude.
diagram. And I forget, this was years ago, so I forget the exact specifics, but I found the right wire, and we figured out the wiring was not the problem.
Yeah.
But we thought it was because I checked, according to the pinout on the fucking diagrams from Kia themselves.
Where there should be power.
And I wasn't getting the right reading. So I'm like,
Yeah.
is this a problem? So we're trying to chase where this problem is on the wire just to find out that the fucking pinout was wrong.
Yeah.
And again, I'm helping someone. I'm already not getting paid, so I wasted my time for free.
Yeah. Yeah. Nuts.
If I'm not
fuck
getting
all
paid, I'd like this to be as quick as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I do miss doing stuff with cars, but I
Actually,
do not miss working on them.
here's a
for
fun little
for a
anecdote.
shop.
Here's a fun little anecdote, and it features Alex, actually.
Yeah.
So, Alex called me one day as I was sitting in the parking lot getting ready to leave the job site that I was at. And he was like, yeah, I'm thinking about going back to Kia, half joking, half serious, because working on cars, no matter where you work, fucking sucks. But he had swung by Kia. I forget if it was just a visit or if he was picking up a part.
Yeah. So people are always just looking forward to leaving,
Yeah.
going somewhere else.
Working in cars, your favorite thing is leaving.
Which is nuts. Crazy perspective.
But he had said that one of the service writers at Kia, where we both worked, it was a service writer that he had worked there when he worked there. So they knew each other. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just out of habit or if it was just joking, but the service writer was like, "Hey, I need you to do an oil change on this car," to Alex while I
Yeah.
was there. And right before that, I had been joking with Alex, yeah, maybe I'll go back to Kia too.
Yeah.
Todd, if you're watching, I'm not serious, but in my defense, I had spent the entire week working on rooftops in single-digit weather.
Yeah. So it's you rethink every decision you've ever made. There is something about single-digit weather and being forced to be paid to work in it.
Yeah.
And then you're just with no fault. I mean, you're in the wrong head, but like to no fault of your own, you're like rethinking every step you've ever made in your entire
actually,
life.
I think we talked like shortly after.
Yeah, it's like you just like you're like, where did I go wrong? Why am I fucking here?
What am I doing with my life?
What am I doing, man?
But
but just kidding. It's not.
But Alex said, he handed in the RO and was like, "Here, doing an oil change on this car." And at that moment, I had a visceral reaction.
Yeah.
To that, I need you to do an oil change on this car.
Yeah, just hearing someone say that, and like it's a crazy.
And it was a moment of clarity
up your spine.
It was a moment of clarity. I'm like, Alex, I can't go back to Kia.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't. He's like, why? I'm like, just you saying, I need you to do an oil change on this car.
Yeah.
Made me physically recoil in my seat.
Dude, it's like it's up your
I
spine.
can't go back to that. I can't. And Alex, joking, he's like, you don't want to get dripped on with ice and spend 45 minutes just to get denied all these like recommendations and get paid 0.3 for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I fucking can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
So Todd, don't worry, I'm not going back. No, and I told him, I'm like, if I was to go back to working on cars, I'd have to find like a specialty shop, like that one shop right next door to like Freedom Motorsports, where all they have is a bunch of old cars.
Yeah.
Where all I'm doing is tuning carburetors and setting like ignition.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do. I want to play with old analog shit. I want to rebuild old V8 engines with a carburetor, and the only thought it has is, do I need to automatically advance the ignition right now?
Yeah. And I think I love you. And that's pretty much it. You in the car.
All of like a lot of my friends recently have been buying 60s cars.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to take credit for that, but I'm definitely pushing them in that direction.
Yeah.
And like anytime they have an issue, I'm like, oh, dude, I'll be right there. Like, I'm excited to get my hands in on this.
Yeah.
With Sean and buying his Corvair.
Yeah.
Anytime he had an issue, he was like, oh, dude, let me know. I'll come to the clubhouse and like, we'll rebuild your carburetors. I'll fucking fuck with the ignition timing. I'll rebuild your distributor. Like, that shit's genuinely fun to me now.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to do nothing but dial in carburetors.
Yeah.
Give me a fucking wideband O2 sensor that I can like just move from car to car so I can make sure I have it
a tool
set right.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy changing out jets and doing all that shit, because that's like, first of all, it's dumb. It like my Buick ran on 5 cylinders for how many years?
It's like dumb. It's like complicated, but it's simple.
Yeah. Once you figure out how it mechanically works, that's it. That's all there is to it.
It's complicated mechanics. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's not a fucking computer
today.
It's going, it's wrong.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's wrong? It's wrong.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Talk to me.
Wrong.
It is so true. They're like, I love that when like the whole diagnostics came out, and then like normal people figured it out, and they're like, well, can't you just plug into it and figure out what's wrong with my car? It's like, no, actually, no.
CAN communication error.
Yeah.
Okay, where on the entire CAN network that wraps around the vehicle 4 fucking times is the problem? CAN communication error. Is it between the ABS module and the ECU? Error.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all you get.
Like, perfect example, and this is what I was about to bring up before we went on the fucking pee break.
Yeah.
Xavier has a oh god, he's gonna kill me. 88 or 89 Camry wagon, 5-speed.
Yeah.
Thing's fucking sick.
Yeah.
It was burning a prodigious amount of oil.
Ooh.
So he did what any reasonable person would do with their, $1,000 shit box. He rebuilt the engine.
Oh shit!
It was sitting.
Did he just get it?
Yeah.
Holy
shit. He bought it. He knew there were some issues, but he found out it burned like a quart of oil every 200 miles. I was like, that's not acceptable.
I mean, I would say no, but rebuilding an 80 what?
It's like an 88 Camry wagon.
Yeah, that's insane. It's insane.
It's normal for us.
Yeah, dude, that's insane.
It's just nuts and bolts. It's fine.
No. Wait. Tell everyone why he bought this car. Tell everybody why he bought the car.
He wanted a reliable, fuel, economical car.
So he had to buy it.
Because his other cars are, an
an
86 Mark III Supra and a 69 Chevy C10. So he wanted a much more reliable, easy to live with, and economic car.
And so step one was rebuild the engine. They're just like
You don't
crazy.
understand. He's rebuilt like 3 engines.
No, I know. And like
he rebuilt the engine in the Supra.
Yeah.
He rebuilt the engine on
and
a fucking
Mark III Supra.
Yeah, Mark
so
III
just to, like,
Supra
add to that.
7 ME.
Yeah, 7
I think there might be a G in there. 7
MGE.
MGE. Yeah, 7 MGE.
Yeah.
7 more gaskets eaten.
So, if anyone doesn't know what that is, can we just look up that engine bay? Because I
Mark III
cringe.
Supra?
Yeah, I cringe when I see those engine bays. Like even when like the
Well, his isn't turbo.
the IS 300 would come in. You know, I had to work on a couple of those. That's not nearly as bad. But like, bro, these engine bays are just wildly tight. This one's a little bit older, but
No, that's a Mark III
still.
Supra.
Oh,
With the
is
7M. Well, that's
Yeah.
a turbo, so it's a bit more complicated.
It looks a little bit tighter. But like that's insane. I mean, like, just take a second. I'm gonna leave this up here for a minute. Like, and this actually kind of is indicating a few parts if you're
it's
interested as
labeled.
well. It's all labeled.
Yeah,
So-
this is a 7M GTE, not
Yeah.
a GE.
So,
So it's the turbo.
yeah. So this is wildly tight in there. You know, I think the only thing that's
That's just
worse
80s
than
and
this,
90s engine bays.
Yeah, the only thing that's worse than that
300ZX turbo?
300ZX turbo, which is the only other one that is just like, what the fuck? You ever seen a 300ZX with an SR20 swap?
I bet you there's so much room for activities.
It looks right.
Okay.
It's like it's how it should have been. Like somebody was off of their rocker
Someone was cooking.
when they jammed that fucking V6 twin turbo into that. Like it should have just been a 4-cylinder. It's right. It's right. But yeah, so if you can rebuild an engine that looks like that, if you can pull that out, rebuild it, put it back in, I would say that a Camry, if you want to pull up a Camry engine,
well, no, that
well, either
it's got
way,
that
it's
tilted
very
back. There's a
simple.
lot of room.
Yeah.
There's actually a decent amount of room, but he bought
That's
it
what I'm
for
saying.
it to
It's
be.
like it's much simpler.
Yeah.
Like that Camry
This is light
engine
work
looked
for
like
Xavier.
nothing.
This
for
is light work
Xavier.
for Xavier.
Yeah.
But no, he got new rings and he just used like a dingle ball hone to
Yeah,
clean
nice.
up the bores and
Yeah.
put it all back together. So it was
Yeah.
a basic rebuild.
Okay. So
But, you know,
he left the engine
To the
in
average
and just
person, and
dropped
even
the-
like me, like the sight of connecting rods and pistons being out of the engine and laying on a table, that's a lot.
Yeah. Did he? I guess he left the engine in and just pulled
He left the
head?
block in, pulled the
Yeah.
head, and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And was on a creeper because we don't have a lift at the clubhouse. Was on a
Oh,
creeper.
he did it all at the clubhouse, like in 0-degree weather.
Well, it was warmer when he did it,
Okay. Still.
mildly, 20-degree
Mildly.
weather.
Dude.
We have a propane heater,
Yeah.
but yeah. So he rebuilt that, and like ever since he's put it back together, it's not been quite right. It's been down on power, and just like it's just been down on power.
Just been off.
And
yeah.
it hunts for idle a little bit. It's just been a little funky. And we just yesterday actually I was there, and like I'm the one who's good with like diagnosing sensors, electrical, all that kind of bullshit. And first off, we pulled codes on it. There's no check engine light. The check engine light wasn't on, but we pulled a code, and it
A
actually
bit of whiskey.
yeah. What do you want?
I'll do that one. Fuck it.
Okay. So we pulled codes on it, and even though the check engine light wasn't on, it had a code in it, and that code ended up being the throttle position sensor. So I ohmed it out and found there was no continuity at all on any of the pins, and it didn't respond when you were moving the throttle blade. Nothing.
Yeah.
So this is a dead sensor. For anyone who is even mildly curious, the throttle position sensor is just a variable resistor that as you move the throttle, the resistance changes. So there should have been something. I got nothing.
Yeah.
So dead sensor. And just to verify, we had the car running, we unplugged it, and the car behaved no differently. And the whole time, like, me and him are just joking because he's got that 69 C10, and I've got my Buick, and we both are of the opinion that the dumber the car, the better.
Yeah.
We're like, if this was a carbureted car, this would just not be an issue.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
This wouldn't even be a possible failure point.
Right. Yeah.
If the fuel gets in the car's happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, like, some of these things had to happen for, like,
Emissions.
fuel economy.
And,
and
like, now we're in
emissions.
the era where you have a 1-liter 3-cylinder turbo that makes 300 horsepower. So, it's in the name of progress, but, like, after working on cars and having to deal with all the problems that this progress brings along with it, I want my car to be dumb. I don't want it to be panicking over a dead sensor.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, what if, like, all the car engineers that, like, over-engineered things to be more
Better.
efficient
Just
and better, if they were, instead, they were, like, making rail systems for trains that were better, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the Matrix had split at that point, and, like, instead, now we're dealing with, like, cars that are overcomplicated and train systems that are still as dumb as they were in the 90s.
Well, no, train systems have gotten smarter. But
I mean, a little bit, but like they still like the L train still sucks, right? Like
if you're talking about
subways-
like that,
yeah, like
progress
real
hasn't
people
been-
transportation.
the progress hasn't been equal across all fronts.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like we've been hunting down fucking sensors and different things with like making car engines.
Why does the
more
computer need to control
sophisticated.
my fucking windows?
Yeah, like why is the L train still late? Like what the fucking just god damn it.
You know, I almost think that like back in the pure analog era of Steam, the train systems might have been better about keeping time.
Definitely.
Like shit definitely broke, but to quote like an article,
Well, it was more important, right? There was like
There was a lot
there
more-
more people counting on it.
there was a lot more people counting on the train system,
Yeah.
1 and 2. Like they just held themselves at a higher standard.
Yeah.
And you know, I read an article about like, so you know, full disclosure, I'm the flavor of autism where I like steam trains.
Yes. Yes.
And one of my favorite trains is the Pennsylvania Railroad T1, just because it looked cool as shit. It was streamlined. It had shark nose styling, and you know I love shark nose styling. I like the old Beamers with the shark nose styling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this article that I read was kind of like not an interview, but like a firsthand account of like someone driving one of like not the last T1, but like the last time it was in service.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that things were transitioning to diesels, but they still used steam trains as like backup,
Mm-hmm.
or you know, when things were low priority. And the guy basically said like he had gone into work that day expecting to be, you know, driving a diesel locomotive, and was told, you know, there's a T1 out back, go get it ready. And his position at that point, since he wasn't in the diesel, was he was now going to be the fireman, the guy who like handled like coal and feeding the flame for the steam engine.
Yeah.
And you know, they go back there and he's talking about how it's like all grimy and like neglected, and like they kind of hose it out a little bit just to clean it up a bit, but the thing's just decrepit.
Yeah.
And they get in it, and the train they're going to be pulling is late, and it's got 2 Pennsylvania Railroad K4s, which are even older steam trains, pulling it. And they're older, they're even worse condition, even more decrepit, and the train's like 45 minutes late. And one of the things he said was like, we weren't allowed to speed, but if you didn't speed, you'd be fired and replaced with someone who would.
Yeah.
So,
Oh shit.
so you know, the T1, you know, to give more context, is famous for being fast as fuck. Now, the Brits own the world record for steam. A world speed record for steam at 126 miles an hour, the Mallard, if you want to look it up. 126 miles an hour. There are unverified anecdotes of the T1 reaching as high as 140. These trains were designed, and here's another like bit of evidence to back up how fast these fucking steam trains were. They were designed to do 100.
Yeah.
They broke a lot more frequently because of stress related to going over design speed.
Yeah.
They were also notorious for spinning their wheels at speed.
Yeah.
So, really cool train.
So like spinning the wheels like at full speed?
You're doing 80 miles an hour, and all of a sudden the train decides now's the time to do a burnout.
Yeah, that's nuts, dude. Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah, and he was just talking about that. And long story short, they need to make up some time. They can't make up all of it, but, you know, he's like, this is a fucking decrepit old steam train. This is dumb, whatever. But the engineer who's actually driving it's like, he knows what this train's about.
Yeah.
They are fucking flying. They've got the speedometer on the T1, I think, ended at 100 miles an hour, and it's fucking buried.
Damn.
And they show up at the next station, unload the train, whatever, and then they get called into the office.
Yeah.
And they're like, one of our signal men said you damn near blew, or no, he was like, which one of you has a pilot's license? He's like, one of the signalmen said you damn near blew him off the stand when you went by. Don't do it again. And then as they're leaving, good job, guys.
Oh, I love that.
So, like, yeah, I know that was a fucking left field tangent, but like,
No, I
we
love
were
that.
talking about like the L train being late. Back in the day,
Yeah. Yeah.
they kept to a schedule and they did everything they could
Yeah.
to keep to that schedule.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I ever showed you.
Or like it was like this guy had to like kind of reprimand him, but was also like,
good job.
good shit, boys.
Yeah. And just so like you know, and I don't know if you want to bother putting it up, but
I sure do.
But
That
this is the
looks
T1.
sick, dude.
that fucker.
Bro, that is sick. Pennsylvania T1.
Pennsylvania Railroad T1.
Damn.
Again, unverified anecdotal evidence of these fuckers doing like 140. Again, world record for steam is 126.
And perspective, how much does one of these motherfuckers weigh? Plus whatever.
Millions of pounds.
Plus whatever it's hauling
Mhm.
at 140 miles an hour is nuts.
And like, let me see if I can find a picture of someone standing next to one, just to like
Yeah.
give you a scale of how big these things
I think I'm
were.
getting it from like the railroad itself, where I could see like you wouldn't be taller than that wheel. There's
No,
no
exactly.
shot.
Those wheels, like you are as tall as that wheel. So I want
Maybe
you
not
to,
even.
I want you to just imagine that I-beam right there flailing around here at 140 miles an hour.
Dude. And like, what's the RPM of
I
that
have no
motherfucking I-beam, dude? And like that I-beam lets loose at like
And here's the thing: you see how it's got
4,000
two-
RPM?
You see how it's got two sets of rods?
yeah,
They did that because of that,
yeah,
to make them smaller.
yeah, yeah. They had to split them up
Yeah, because if
because
there's
typical ones would have like really big ones that just move all the wheels, right?
UP 844.
UPS, no.
So this train has the distinction of being the longest steam train
Union Pacific.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard of that.
of being in service, the longest. They never retired this train. This steam train's been running since the 40s. It's under, it's down right now for maintenance, but they've never retired it. This is a, this would be the equivalent of the T1. It's got four wheels being driven, and instead of dividing it up into two, it's just one big rod. But this thing, when they were running it, they would run this thing up to like 80 miles an hour, and you have this big ass. And this was also designed to do like 100,
Yeah.
and you'd have that big ass I-beam flailing
Moving.
around.
Yeah, all four wheels. Essentially with all four wheels, but yeah.
Maybe I could actually.
See, there's a video.
I
Yeah,
know
so-
there's a video because I have watched it.
If you're not
If you're not a train
if
guy,
you're not tuning
the-
carburetors, I feel like you would be conducting this hoe.
Oh yeah, this is my second like thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll find you
75
here.
miles an hour.
Bruh. They got some audio to this? It's probably gonna be all shit. Yeah, it's
It's
shit.
just a train chugging along.
But it's like it's air mostly.
Yeah,
But
basically.
But you can see that fucking I-beam whipping around down there.
And now imagine this thing back in its day, because it's speed restricted now.
I can't take my eyes off this I-beam, dude.
Imagine this thing back in the day doing 100.
Yeah.
We had another train. I forget what it was, but
This is steam?
yeah. And this thing, like, if they zoom out far enough, you'll see there's a diesel locomotive
It's
behind
just very
it.
black.
It's because it runs oil. It doesn't run coal.
Oh, okay.
But there's a diesel locomotive behind, like, the tenders. That is
Yeah.
there only to assist with braking and to supply electrical power. It's doing none of the pulling.
You turn the audio down a little bit. I don't want it to like.
Yeah, we don't need
talk
the
over, I don't need you to talk over it. Yeah, that's wild. Man, what a beast! Dude, just hanging out of the back.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hell yeah!
Visibility wasn't great
Nah, that's
driving
cool.
these things, but
Fuck that. I mean, you're not stopping. Like, fuck do you need to see, dude?
and besides, even if you hit something,
You might not notice. We hit something? Oh, dude. Yeah, it's like this is what I'm saying. Like there was a switch where we went from, engineering stuff like this
Mechanical
to just
engineering
being,
to everything's electronic.
yeah, to being, and like, I guess it made sense, the diesel, right? Mm-hmm. Going to diesel.
Oh,
it does
the
make
maintenance.
sense.
What killed these was the maintenance, and if you needed two of them, you needed two crews. With a diesel, you can hook them up together and control them from like just one train.
Okay.
But the biggest thing was the maintenance.
Yeah.
We work on boilers.
Right.
Yeah, now make that a high pressure, like that thing's like a 300 PSI boiler.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's moving through weather.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
And there's a lot more
it's
moving
insane.
parts.
It's completely unsafe.
So
every piece of this is terrifying.
I know, and
the more you talk about it, the more it's like this is a bomb that's moving.
300 PSI boiler. It's superheated, so it's dry steam.
Yeah.
So if there's a leak, you don't see it until it cuts you in half.
Yeah.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
And if you run out of water, it explodes.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's millions of pounds. Mm-hmm. And so, whatever it hits.
Yeah. And, if you excuse my going into train autism here, I've done a lot of research on this stuff just because it's interesting to me. And when we were transitioning from steam to diesels, there was this interesting problem where, to sum it up and grossly oversimplify it, a steam train can pull a bigger train than it can start. Steam trains struggle at starting to move because they've got pulses of power because they're piston driven. So it makes them much more prone to slipping, losing traction, and losing all your fucking momentum.
Yeah.
Diesels can start trains bigger than they can continuously move. So they might be able to get rolling, but they're not going to go past like 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And these steam trains, it took forever before we had individual diesels that were more powerful than the steam trains. It was a downgrade in terms of power, but with diesels, you could just stack them.
Yeah.
And crew just one of them and just tie the controls together.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
dude, also, just real quick, shout out to the camera guy who's also just doing 75 on a highway next to this thing, ducking cars. Like, this guy's been ducking cars as we've been watching this video still the whole time, and he's like whizzing past cars. Like, this is like you.
Yeah,
being like, holy shit, it's gonna drive. It's leaving today. And like, you're next to it. Like,
yeah, I would do this dumb shit if we had trains like this on the East Coast.
Yeah,
but we don't. There's another video. I doubt I'm going to be able to find it because I don't even know what to search. But it's a different train. Oh, it's this, but it was from someone pacing it, just on a piece of track right next to a highway. Oh no, it is this video. It is exactly this video. Just imagine seeing this. You're driving down the highway.
Yeah.
You come up onto an on-ramp, and
there it is.
And there you go. There's the size we're talking about here.
Yeah.
That wheel's taller than an FJ Cruiser.
Whoa.
Oh, look at that Mustang. He's definitely pacing it.
The signal's still on.
Yeah, it's probably a boomer. Driving in the left lane with your blinker on.
Or maybe they're just so mesmerized.
I mean, it's easy to get distracted. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's also a giant fucking steam train right next to you.
Yeah. Like, what are the odds that you ended up next to it?
Are we going to go back to the pacing shot? Yeah, the guy's just like, this is not the video. The beginning
this
here.
This is still good, though.
The beginning. This was the video. Like, there's a longer... This clip keeps going, but he's just pacing it.
Yeah, that's crazy. God, that's fucking big.
Mm-hmm.
Nuts.
Yeah, I don't even know how we got onto this topic. It's talking about just old shit.
Yeah, I don't know either. But here we are.
Yeah, that T1, they're making a new one right now.
Yeah,
from scratch.
No way.
Yep, a bunch of train enthusiasts, because they all got scrapped, which is a travesty. But
yeah,
a bunch of enthusiasts are like, that was a travesty. We should undo that. So they've got a donation system going, and actually, right there. That's how they've got the boiler made. They've got the front end.
Oh, shit.
I've been...
Trains Magazine.
Yeah. I've been following them. I've been following them, like, loosely. I check in every now and again to see what kind of progress they made. But, yeah, they're building a brand new one. And I don't know if it's still on the cards, but they were talking about negotiating with some of the rail companies to see if they could...
T1trust.org.
Yeah,
If anyone's interested.
they were talking about like negotiating with some of the bigger rail companies to see if they could stretch a track to go for the world record.
Ooh.
To like finally prove like could the T1 go faster than like the Mallard and break that world record.
Yeah. That's insane.
But it's going to be running local to us when they get it up and running.
Really?
Pennsylvania Railroad.
Oh, that's right. This is the Pennsylvania one.
Yeah, I mean, Pennsylvania Railroad long since like went bankrupt and dissolved, and now we've got SEPTA and whatever the other thing is, I forget. But yeah, I think they're going to try to be running it like local.
Interesting.
At most, like a couple-hour drive from where we are.
Yeah.
So I've been watching it. They're projecting that they'll have it done like early 2030s, unless they got like a donation of like $10 million right now.
Yeah, like who's building it? Like,
they're
just a collective of people.
Yeah, they just reach out to different like companies who do like big like metal work and like, hey, can you do this and would you be interested?
Yeah, but even like just like figuring out how to tie everything in correctly. You know?
Yeah, because a lot of the machinery needed to make these parts don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of like the skill behind making that shit doesn't exist anymore. Like you look at a diesel locomotive and the wheels are this big compared to those steam trains that had
gigantic wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like
they found a company to make the wheels.
Okay.
They've got a couple of them cast.
The material's important, you know, like the weight
and the
important.
frame.
Yeah.
Like before they would cast that in one piece. I think, like I said, I've been following them loosely. I think they found a company that was making it in sections and would weld it together.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because there's nowhere that makes frames or frame rails that big anymore. So yeah, they just reach out to different companies and be like, "Can you do this? And would you be interested in doing it?"
Damn.
I mean, they pay them. Obviously, they can't just donate that.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm excited for whenever that finishes. When I first heard about it and found it, they had like this piece and a wheel made, and now they've got like the whole boiler. They're making the firebox. They bought a tender that hadn't been scrapped.
Yeah.
And they're refurbishing that. And actually, you know what? I haven't checked on them in a while. Let's see how far they got.
We're gonna check on that. I think another heat brake is in order.
Opinion, better, but I understand that I am a niche case. Like my parents.
Oh, you looked up the train.
Yeah, we were.
It was the train. The guys who were rebuilding the train. You were looking up the progress.
Oh yeah, did I close that out? I think I did.
Well, they've made some good progress.
Yeah, they've
done very well. So that
estimated completion date of rebuilding a PRR T1 2030.
Yeah, it was T1 something.
T1trust.org.
Trust.org. So, if you're interested,
if you like trains, I like trains.
Yeah, I like them. We spent a little bit of time going through a bunch of them. That was cool. But SpaceX.
Yeah, now we're gonna go into the future.
Into the future.
Yeah, I know I just bitched about like modern technology being too much, but rocket science is where I draw the line.
Yeah.
That's where we can't go forward fast enough. We stagnated for way too long. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, SpaceX is pushing forward as ever. They very recently did another test of their Starship rocket. This one didn't go so great.
Right. So I saw the debris look like something from like Interstellar.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yes. I've seen a lot of the videos of the ship breaking up and re-entering.
Yeah. It looks pretty cool.
So
you know, like, pull up the Instagram real quick. 'Cause I know I sent it to you, or you sent it to me, maybe. But yeah, there's a cool video of it for sure. Some pictures.
I think it might even be faster if I just fucking YouTube it.
Yeah, there you go. YouTube. So what was it?
So they launched the Starship, and it's a 2-stage rocket. You got the super heavy booster on the bottom, and that performed flawlessly. They caught it for a second time, which is just ridiculous to watch.
Yeah.
But the second stage blew up. I think it's important to point out, though, that this version of Starship was actually basically new from the ground up. They used the same engines, but they redid the flaps, they redid the tanks, and they redid the plumbing to the engines, and rockets are very, very sensitive to
Change.
well, anything going wrong at all. So you redo the plumbing with a whole new system. If there's any bugs in it, the most likely outcome is it explodes.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of rockets. So even though it seems like a step backwards, this was an entirely new second stage.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at the progress that SpaceX did with the first one, it went up into the air, did a couple somersaults, and then blew up. And the second one made it farther before blowing up. And then the third one was actually successful in making it all the way to landing and all that. So I'm willing to bet by the second flight of this new version, it's probably going to be fine.
Yeah.
Or minimal hiccups.
I would throw debris into this.
But yeah, so why did that start there? So yeah, the second stage is that little dot, and then it explodes. They had, and if you watch the live stream, you could see on the telemetry that engines were dropping out. Something was very much going wrong, and then there it is, re-entering in a million different pieces. Real pretty.
Yeah. There was like better photos of it though, where it looked insane.
Oh, I think I did send those to you. That someone had their camera, like their really
telescopic
high-dollar camera with
camera.
like telescopic lenses, and they got some gnarly pictures. But
Fuck yeah.
This gives you an idea of like if you were in the Caribbean, you probably saw this.
Yeah.
And if you were in the Caribbean and saw this and wondering what the hell it was, that's just SpaceX.
Yeah.
It did upset air traffic.
Yeah.
A little bit. They had some planes flying around waiting for the debris field to like pass.
Yeah.
So, it's not all good. And oh god, I hate when news agencies do this. FAA grounds SpaceX Starship following post-launch explosion. Yeah. That's normal. Don't blow it up like it's some crazy thing.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, they grounded it. Can you believe they grounded it? It's like, no, that's
exactly
procedure.
what we expected to do. That's normal procedure. The rocket blew up. They're going to investigate it once they figure out what the root cause was.
Yeah.
And, propose mitigations.
Yeah.
It'll be back in the air.
Yeah.
This is an experimental vessel. Most people, when it comes to rockets, are used to the NASA approach, which is funded by taxpayers. So if there's anything blowing up, people get
are
mad.
pissed. Yeah.
Where, NASA will design the hell out of something and run it through countless simulations and take decades to design a rocket. And then it better fucking work on the first try.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like, people are more upset when their tax dollars, like, result into nothing than it exploding.
Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing. And the space shuttle, as cool of a rocket that was, is literally the perfect example. If you lock in this design early and you spend all of your money and all of your time, literally decades, to design this rocket, and then there is a flaw that you don't find out until the thing is flying, you can't fix that. What SpaceX is doing is slapping a bunch of tanks together with their engines and their avionics and going, okay, launch it. Oh, cool, it blew up. Why did it blow up? What do we need to fix? Okay, that needs to be fixed. Cool. They haven't designed the life support system. They haven't designed the interior. They haven't designed half of the fucking rocket.
Yeah.
This is the bare minimum needed to fly, and then get the systems required for it to fly nailed down before you even worry about anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
The space shuttle, that had a slight issue where if one of the fucking tiles broke, the thing would break up on re-entry. Or if one of the O-rings gave out on the solid rocket boosters, the thing would blow up. That is Challenger and Columbia right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we couldn't change anything because we had already spent billions on this thing.
Right. Yeah, because they committed to the design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So SpaceX is taking an entirely different approach, and most people who don't follow this stuff have no idea.
Yeah.
They see NASA.
They just love to talk shit about it.
They see NASA.
People hate it.
And they go, that's how rockets need to be designed.
Yeah.
And then they see SpaceX's rocket blow up, and they're like, why are they clapping?
Yeah. It's failing forward.
It's failing forward the right way. It's not failing upward into management.
we do say that on some derogatory ways, but in this case, it's it's like just trying to put something in like real time.
Look,
tests.
When you simulate something, you can only simulate for what you can imagine.
Yeah.
The real world doesn't give a fuck what you can imagine. It's going to throw everything at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you put it in the
so
real world, see what breaks, and go, okay, why'd it break? Oh, wow, I never would have simulated for that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you get news articles and news sites that go, FAA ground SpaceX Starship following post-launch explosion.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's standard
Clickbait.
procedure.
Yeah.
Blue Origin launched their New Glenn rocket for the first time, literally like a day before SpaceX launched Starship for Flight 7.
Yeah.
Test Flight 7. And it made it to orbit because they took the NASA approach where they simulated the fuck out of everything, and they've literally taken decades. Okay, maybe not decades, but they took over a decade to get this rocket from paper to launch pad.
Yeah.
And it went up, and the second stage did make it to orbit, to their credit. Their second stage worked flawlessly, got them all the way up to orbit. Their first stage worked flawlessly for ascent. It got the second stage to the staging point. It staged, second stage went up, got into orbit. Cool. Then it blew up trying to land. That was supposed to be a done rocket.
Yeah.
Now they have to figure that out, and I can almost guarantee Blue Origin spends a lot more money per rocket than SpaceX does making the Starship, which has 33 engines strapped to it on the bottom stage and 6 more on the top stage.
Yeah.
So, it blew up. And they're currently grounded. But guess what?
If it
Blue
takes
Origin's
another 10
grounded
years,
too.
Yeah.
And their rocket's a hell of a lot more expensive to build.
Yeah. Yeah, because it took 10 years to build that one on who knows how long it's going to take them to figure out like the next.
Blue Origin
next
was
step.
founded 2 years before SpaceX.
Yeah.
And Jeff Bezos has a lot, or had. Elon Musk is now the richest man in the world. But for most of SpaceX's development and most of Blue Origin's development, Jeff Bezos had way more money to throw at Blue Origin.
Yeah.
SpaceX had to get off the ground running, or they were going to run out of money.
Yeah.
So they made the Falcon 1. That damn near failed and almost bankrupted them. And then the last one worked, and NASA sent them a contract to develop the Falcon 9 and the Cargo Dragon to send supplies to the ISS. And then the Falcon 9 turned out to be a fantastic rocket. I just showed you that one picture of how much SpaceX has launched compared to the rest of the world. Literally the rest of the world combined.
Yeah.
And, that's how SpaceX is making it. SpaceX is now like revenue positive, I'm pretty sure, between Starlink and launching the Falcon 9.
Yeah.
So Blue Origin had all this money to throw at it, and they did the slow, old-fashioned approach of design, iron out all the kinks and simulations, test, without actually testing the rocket. And now that they've run into an issue, it's going to cost them a lot more money, like on a per rocket, like per unit.
Yeah.
It's probably going to end up costing them a lot more money than SpaceX is slapping these starships together.
Yeah.
And they're catching the Super Heavy booster out of the sky with the launch tower.
Yeah, that is another one. Like when you watch that, it's like you could. If I saw it 10 years ago, I'd be like, "This is CGI. This is like crazy.
This is like
fake.
This is like a 20 or 30 story tall skyscraper falling out of the sky and getting caught by giant chopsticks attached to another skyscraper."
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
And they've done it twice successfully. And the last test flight, they didn't catch it, and that wasn't because of any problem with the rocket. That's because some sensors on the launch tower got damaged.
Yeah. And see, the other thing, too, just like kind of add to what you're saying about like the different methods that Blue Origin's taken versus SpaceX is that, like, I mean, imagine like all the stuff that SpaceX has learned from all of these failed launches and successful launches. You know, there's so many successful launches, but then also, like now Blue Origin has like one successful launch and one failed.
Well, one semi-successful. I mean, the
like
launch
re-entry.
itself, I guess, would call it successful, but the first
failed
stage,
re-entry.
Yeah, and this rocket was designed from the ground up to be, first stage reusable.
Yeah.
Like that was a mission statement from the beginning. The Falcon 9 actually wasn't meant to be reusable from the beginning, and now it's like
and then like,
an absolute workhorse of a rocket that gets reused. I think the life leader's at like 26 flights.
Yeah. And then if it takes them like 10 years or even 5 years to like figure this out before they can launch again, or even 3 years. I mean, think about how many they're going to launch. Like SpaceX will launch and then learn from those launches.
Well, that's the thing.
Because like look how much like Blue Origin's probably learned already from that launch.
Yeah, I'm sure they learned a lot.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to do way better the second flight.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
So imagine if they could just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, keep doing it, all in like a timely fashion where they could do it multiple times a year. Isn't that a good idea?
You would think.
No,
But,
SpaceX is already on top of that. Wait a
but
minute.
Good Morning America seems to think this is the craziest thing ever, even though SpaceX has literally been beating this drum since their inception.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. The New Glenn rocket is very competitive for the aerospace market right now. SpaceX, is, the Starship is like this close to being operational. And when it is, that's going to blow everything else out of the water.
Yeah.
And it's not just like because it's the biggest rocket ever and the most powerful rocket ever. It's also going to be one of the cheapest, which is the crazy thing. That's the equivalent of like you have an option to use a scooter or a full semi-truck to transport one loaf of bread, and the semi-truck is cheaper.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it makes more sense to put it on the surface, to put it on the guy with a moped and have him run it downtown.
Yeah.
But the semi-truck is $5, and the moped is $1,000.
Yeah.
Like, that's the order of magnitude difference in, like, price that potentially could happen. SpaceX is probably going to do the same thing they do with the Falcon 9, where they charge way more money than they need to because they have no fucking competition.
Right.
And even though they're charging way more money than they need to, they're still undercutting the competition.
Mm-hmm.
Like, best estimates put the Falcon 9 at about $10 to $20 million to operate, to launch it for SpaceX. That's the amount of money they have to spend.
10 to 20.
I don't.
There's a $10 million variation.
Because it's a private.
I know, it's just
because
crazy.
it's a privately traded company. They
Yeah.
don't have to disclose those numbers. These are estimates.
Yeah.
So that's why the range is so wide. SpaceX has an exact number.
It is just like, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. When you're talking about it, you're like, there's a $10 million difference in variation.
Yeah, the margin
price.
of error is large here. But
Bro.
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Best estimates put it like $10 to $20 million.
Yeah.
They charge like $65 million, I think, is like the cheapest if you needed a rocket. And so that's potentially $40-45 million in just profit.
Crazy.
Per launch. And they're still cheaper than the competition.
Dog. That's nuts.
So I think a lot of SpaceX's internal goal, I think, for the Starship is a marginal cost of $2 million for Starship to launch. Cheaper than the Falcon 9. We're talking about the world's biggest, most powerful rocket.
Yeah.
$2 million is their goals for launch.
Yeah.
Do you realize how ridiculously cheap that is for a rocket?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. But still, it's crazy that 65 million is the economical version.
Like, here's the thing: you could get a Rocket Lab, what's it called? Electron rocket for cheaper. I think they're like $20 or $30 million. But it's so much smaller and so much less capable. So if you've got a satellite that weighs like 10 tons, that's not even an option for you. It's not even on your radar.
Oh.
And you've got SpaceX that's going to charge like $65-70 million, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And you've got ULA, which doesn't have much availability because I think they've only launched their Vulcan rocket like twice. And they're like $90 million. And New Glenn, which can carry a bigger payload. But I think their target price to charge a customer is like $110 million.
Whoa.
And then I think Ariane 6 from Ariane Space over in Europe is, oh God, what is that? 90 to 100 million, somewhere around there. And again, here's SpaceX at 70 million.
Yeah.
And depending on like your requirements, it can go up from there, obviously. I think they charge NASA because NASA's got very strict requirements that require a lot more labor just to like meet those requirements. They're like 100-something million. But that same flight from ULA would be even more.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just, I mean, so what would it cost to like make the Starship? What is
their
projected
target
cost?
goal, for cost to launch is $2 million.
No, I mean like to make it.
Oh,
It's
to
like
make it?
They're crashing a bunch of them, so like it has to be.
Well, that's
in
the other thing.
$2 million.
Everything about this rocket has been designed for mass production, so economies of scale kicks in.
Yeah.
I forget the numbers, but I think like each Raptor engine, which is a rocket engine.
Yeah.
That's like the most expensive part of the fucking rocket.
Yeah.
Is like it's less than $1 million
Yeah.
for their internal cost to build this thing, and they're
Yeah.
and the version 3 coming out that they're working on is meant to be even cheaper
Yeah.
because they're
And
cranking them out.
We looked at that, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was like all like a flat black.
Yeah, flat black and like
Yeah.
nothing attached to it.
Yeah. Crazy.
And I think the last time SpaceX announced a number, they were closing in on one a day being produced. Like this is actual, genuine mass production of a rocket engine.
So it could be that it costs $10 million to make one of these rockets.
Right
what
now,
we're saying?
yeah, they want to
Yeah.
get the cost down.
Yeah. So every time
But
they,
that's the
they
other thing.
wreck one.
It's expensive,
Okay,
but it's still cheaper than the other rockets, which is crazy.
I know. I'm wrapping my head around the amount of money that's moving through.
There's
it.
a lot
Just-
of money going through it. Yes. These are big numbers that
Yeah.
peasants like you and me can barely understand.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up. I'm like I want to listen to the rocket science, but I'm like, how much? How much money?
Well, well, SpaceX is a private company.
I know, no. I'm
So,
not saying it's
not
bad.
even your
It's just-
money.
No. And it's not even that. It's not even that like I'm like, "Oh my god, the money." I'm like, "Oh my god, that's a lot of money." Like I'm just stuck on that
They're
much
just
money.
playing with it.
Yeah, because it's playing around with 10 mil. Like 10 mil blew up and they're like, "This was going to
Get
be
the next
good.
one ready.
Get the
Or
next one."
the Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah.
Oh no, anyway.
Oh no. Anyway, back to the studio.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, the cost of the rocket to build it matters when you have a disposable rocket.
Yeah.
Because every single one, that cost of building that rocket
Yeah.
gets factored into the
Doing it
launch.
this version, yeah.
SpaceX is reusing their rockets.
Yeah.
That cost to build it gets spread out over all of the launches.
Yeah.
The Falcon 9, like I said, the life leader's at 26 launches now.
Yeah.
So if you divide the cost of the rocket by 26, it suddenly becomes much smaller.
Oh, so the engines are reused.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just fishing them out of the ocean?
But no, I'm talking about the Falcon 9.
Oh.
But Starship, they did refly one engine on this last flight
Okay.
because Flight 5, they call it the rocket.
How much of the debris are they this is what people are going to be interested in, I think that's what people are interested in a lot right now, is that cuz if they know what you know, then they're not interested in hearing this, but I think the majority of the people are like, how much of the debris are they getting? Could you go out there and get yourself an engine?
Technically, it would be fair salvage, I think.
Yeah. Because how cool would it be if one of those engines was in the podcast studio? It's in my basement.
But there you go. There's a picture of, I think this is from Flight 4 or 6, one of the ones where they didn't catch it. They went out and fished the engine section of the Super Heavy booster, part of the engine section.
Damn. Whoa. That looks like a fake picture. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole with trying to decide which pictures are fake and real. And but there's just a way that pictures have been.
It looks deep fried somehow.
Yeah.
But
I think it's just my distrust in everything today. I think I'm just stuck. I just can't believe anything that I see. I'm just stuck.
also,
It hit something down there. It's all folded in.
Well, that's probably just
the force of the water.
The rocket coming down and hitting the water, yeah. And these engine bells would have been really hot and then shocked with cold seawater.
So they're annealed.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But from Flight 5, where they actually caught the tower, they pulled one of the engines off Raptor 314, the pie Raptor. They even someone painted on it like a slice of pie. And they put that on the booster for Flight 7, and they reflew it. And
can you pull up that? I want to see
flawlessly.
what the drawing of the pie looked like. I wonder what kind of pie it was. Don't tell me. I want to be surprised. I'm hungry. Oh, I like that. That's nice.
Yeah, that flew on Flight 5 and Flight 7.
Yeah, that's generic pie right there. But I'm going with cherry. I
thought cherry too. It was weird.
Right? Isn't that? It's cherry pie. She's my cherry pie. All right, let's do a video of the
catch.
The catch. I think we can call this a podcast.
Okay, that's still recording.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're just talking into dead mics.
Nine days ago, yeah, that's the one of the newer ones. Hang on, let me
Speed some hose up.
Oh, that's cool right
You know,
there.
you sent me something else too about like, or maybe I sent it to you. Elon Musk just freely talking to a crowd of people after some allegations about how much water they were using for the deluge. And he's like, you know, it rains a lot there. Like, that water's free. Nobody cared if we used the rainwater.
Well,
but
no,
like, we took
it
water
wasn't
out of the
that.
ocean.
It wasn't that. He was complaining about how they were getting fined for
Right.
quote unquote dumping industrial waste, even though it was just the same water as tap water.
Yeah.
So fresh water in an
Yeah.
area where it rains heavily all the time. And they're getting fined for that?
Yeah, but the deluge water, like nothing happens to the water that's in the deluge system.
It
like,
might
from the
get
rockets.
heated up a little bit.
Yeah, but like there's not like
There might be trace amounts of like hydrocarbons.
yeah, because like you know where I'm headed with this, I'm like Flint, Michigan.
There's no
Who's
lead.
getting
There's no fucking
who's getting a
lead
fine
going
there? Who's getting a fine for that? No one.
Yeah, well, the
And,
government
like-
did that though, so it's okay.
Oh, oops, sorry,
Yeah,
government, my bad.
it's all right.
You know I didn't mean that.
Elon is, you know, he's buddy with Trump now.
Yeah, he's gonna be all right.
But yeah, so catch footage.
Catch footage.
Are you gonna put that up or?
Oh shit. Sorry, I was just watching. Yeah.
Again, this is like a 30 floor
Like it doesn't even look like that's even physically doing anything. Like how is it just this like little butthole like fart thing just like squirming around, just like aimed it right in there? Like how the fuck? And it just landed there so gingerly.
And you can
Unlike-
see it rocking actually.
Yeah.
You see it tilting.
Yep, I see it. That's not very much either. That catches it.
No, it's a.
I mean, for what it's
I mean, if you were next to the catch pin, it'd probably be massive. But compared to the rest of the booster,
Compared
the
to the
catch
rest
pin
of
is
it.
tiny.
yeah. Yeah.
And, you
That's
know,
amazing.
If you watch, I know everyone was focused on the tower because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was. If you watch here, you'll watch engine. This right here in this corner is the telemetry for the second stage, the Starship.
Yeah.
And each of these white circles is an engine. They've got 3 sea level engines and 3 vacuum
And that's
optimized
the
engines.
bottom right corner.
Yeah. And if you watch, you'll notice them start to drop out
Yeah.
one by one. That's not normal. That's shit breaking.
Oh shit.
That's engines failing. They're
Yeah, so
supposed
they
to be
were like
burning
right
now.
there.
And eventually, I don't know if they're going to show it, but all but this one goes out, and then the telemetry freezes, and that's about where that rocket probably blew up.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. And then the numbers right there freeze. And that's like, oh, we stopped getting telemetry from the rocket.
Oh shit. Damn.
Yep. But hey, they caught the booster, and that looked fucking cool.
Yeah. That looks so cool. And it was like I couldn't even believe that it was like a real thing. It's like
And that's the second time they've done that.
yeah. It looks just like when you watch that video, it's just like, what in the fuck is that?
That's the future.
Crazy. It's nuts. Like the video doesn't look real, just the way like the rocket moves. It just looks like so like
Bizarre? Just
uncharacteristic of like what a rocket. Well, we always thought rockets did.
Yeah, rockets don't do that.
Yeah, like it's crazy.
They go up.
Yeah,
And then eventually come crashing back down, but
Yeah.
they never show that part.
yeah. But it looks like a movie. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like a Transformers movie. Like, dude, the horizon, all that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, that's gonna flip into a fucking Honda Civic and ball
And again,
fall
like,
out.
as crazy as that is, well, I don't know if we've showed it on the podcast before, but I know I've showed you the flip maneuver that the second stage does when it's landing.
Yeah,
They're going to do that flip maneuver and then get caught.
yeah.
The same way.
This one isn't flipping.
No, that just falls down, straight down. The Starship comes down sideways, does that flip maneuver where it goes vertical, and then it's going to be caught by the tower in the exact same way after doing a flip.
Well,
half
it made an attempt for that, right? Because I think I've seen that.
Well, I've showed you videos of it doing the flip maneuver. They haven't attempted to catch it yet.
Oh, okay.
But if this flight had gone well, Elon had said that like one more good flight, and they'd probably try it.
Yeah.
They need to get the second tower finished because the first tower is still going to be holding the booster.
Yeah.
And they're building a second one. It's almost done.
Yeah.
But they need to get that finished because they need somewhere to land the second stage.
Okay.
But apparently the last one or two Starship re-entries, the ones that didn't break apart and blow up, were precise enough that they're considering, like, within a couple flights, we're going to try to catch the thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what they did with the Super Heavy booster. They did some ocean landings, and they wanted to make sure that it was right at the point where they wanted to land. And when they realized, when they saw that it was accurate enough, that's when they decided, okay, we're going to try to catch the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what they're doing with the Starship. The first flight that the Starship survived, because the first couple blew up, it almost lost like one of the control flaps, like it burned through. So its trajectory was not precise. It landed within the designated corridor, but way off course from where they wanted it to land. The second time it made it through and made it down to the ocean, it stayed intact enough to be relatively precise. And then the one after that was also a precise landing. And that's when Elon was like, okay, one or two more good landings and we're going to try to catch this thing. And then they tried the V2 second stage and it blew up.
Yeah.
So push that back another flight or two.
Yeah.
But I would optimistically predict by the end of this year they will catch the booster and the ship.
Yeah, so this was just the booster, and what happened to the ship? It blew up?
Well, it blew up.
Yeah.
But the previous missions where it didn't blow up, it did a controlled splashdown in the Indian Ocean.
Okay. And so it would we would see the booster get caught, and then we would see because there was two towers there. So the other tower catches the ship?
Would catch the ship.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. All right.
And we got some neat video of the last test flight of the Starship.
Fucking neat.
Coming in sideways, and then it does that crazy pitch over maneuver before coming down to land at a precise spot in the ocean. And it was precise enough that they just had a buoy with a camera out there waiting for it.
It was a buoy?
Yeah, it was just a buoy with a camera floating in the middle of the ocean.
Shit.
But yeah, it comes down, belly down, and then just does that weird maneuver.
Yeah, and it's crazy that like going belly down is controllable.
Mm-hmm.
Like how can that even be?
That's what the control flaps are for, and that's
So
why
it's
the
just
first time it
flaps.
survived, it didn't land where they wanted it because one of them was barely hanging on. It was like burnt through at the hinge, and as soon as it landed in the water, you saw the flap just.
Yeah. Fuck.
But
Well,
no one else is doing this, which is crazy to me. Like, if
I mean, it's not that crazy to see that no one else is doing this. You know what I mean? Because it's like, that's not like, no one's done it this way before. So it has like off of the definition of crazy. Seems a little crazy.
no, what's
But, like,
crazy to me is these established
pushback. It's the
these
pushback.
established rocket companies like Aerojet, Rocketdyne, although they just make engines, but like ULA, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, Arianespace, all that. They were in denial when SpaceX said, we're going to reuse our booster for the Falcon 9. They're like, oh, it won't be economical. It's too complicated. You can't actually do it. And even if you could, it won't be economical. It'll cost too much money to refurbish, blah, 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 blah. And then SpaceX does it and have been doing it since 2016. And none of these other big establishment players have even considered creating a reusable rocket. And SpaceX is now working on a next generation, fully reusable, dirt cheap, high mass lifting rocket, a super heavy lifting rocket. Like,
I wonder what that is. I think is it like is it like the pride? Like people don't want to like admit that they were wrong, you know, because they said it publicly, and now they just want to go like, nope, he's. Well, I don't care. I don't trust what he's doing. Like, you know, they'll back up whatever they said by saying whatever they have to.
Honestly,
make
I
sense
think
of
it's
it.
that they can't do it.
Yeah.
They're
It's either the people that they have like working for them.
It's the culture.
Or,
it's the culture. Like in America and to a lesser extent in Europe, these companies got used to what's called cost plus contracting.
Yeah.
It's where NASA puts out like, we need this.
Yeah.
And these companies will bid, how much they think it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And if they use up all that money, NASA will foot the bill for any overages.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about this before.
Yeah. Yeah.
That just it encourages you to basically never fucking finish because you're just gonna keep collecting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And then SpaceX comes in and goes, "That sucks. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it cheap."
Yeah.
But you've spent decades being used to like the more you drag your feet, the more money you make.
Yeah.
You've forgotten how to fucking innovate, and you've thrown anything that condones efficiency right out the fucking window.
Yeah. Yeah, so these people have created like a long sustaining
their
like,
bureaucracies in the way of their own
of this.
progress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that was profitable. And now
Right.
SpaceX is eating their lunch and they don't know how to turn the boat around.
Yeah, so you're saying that they're just already so far behind even with all the years they've been doing it because they haven't really been doing it.
They
to
haven't
the
had to
capacity
they haven't had to innovate.
Right.
They don't know
Yeah.
how to fucking innovate.
Yeah. Right. The capacity of like how far they've pushed into innovation. Like they're so far
Yeah, and they're
behind
so used to it
already.
being a government jobs program.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, like ULA brags
Oh,
about,
yeah.
we have, partner companies all across the country. That's horrible from an efficiency standpoint.
Yeah, why?
Like, if you want to
What have
make
you
a change
accomplished
to a
with all this
part, you
shit?
got to call someone in fucking Wyoming.
Yeah.
And then they got to ship the part to you, and then you get it, and you find out it's fucking wrong anyway.
Yeah. Damn.
And, it's an entirely different company that you're subcontracting. So now you got to call them, figure out what department in that company to get a hold of, and who you got to yell at to get the part fixed.
Yeah.
SpaceX is like, we're either going to buy ready-made parts off the shelf if they're there, or we're making it ourselves.
Yeah.
So if their part fails because of a defect, they can go, shit, we got to fix that. And then they fix it.
Yeah. Simple. Yeah, and like you said, it seems crazy that no one else has, because like all of that
Blue
stuff,
Origin
everything
is
that you
doing
said,
it, and there's a couple new space companies that are trying to do it, but these new space companies don't have the money to throw around like SpaceX does. Blue Origin does, but they are 1 foot in like the old space way of doing things where, we got to design everything, this, that, and the other, and then they take it slow, and they're used to like taking decades to fucking do anything. But they've also got another foot in new space where like a lot of their stuff is vertically integrated in-house, and I can't even say that they have to be efficient because Daddy Bezos literally pumps like $5 billion into them every year. So they don't have to make money, but like they're still a bit better off and more flexible than these legacy companies.
right.
And the new space companies, they have the ambition and they're willing to like be lean and efficient out of necessity. They just don't have the money. And a lot of them have gone bankrupt. There's still a few
so
around.
A big part of it is also the fact that Elon has the money and he's ready to.
He hopped
spend
on this train at just the right time. The technology was readily enough available that he could make it work, and he made it work before everyone else did, and he basically plugged the fucking market.
Yeah.
And like, monopolies are bad and all, but this is an earned. It's not quite a monopoly yet, but this is an earned monopoly. Like
Yeah.
this isn't them being anti-competitive. This is just they are that much better than
Yeah.
everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't become like until it's like, like we talked about like Apple, and
Until there's anti-competitive
Yeah,
practices, and if
exactly.
anything, Amazon's like the perfect example of this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, they're just they're
killing it.
Yeah, they're killing it.
And they continue to kill it.
And hopefully people do start to take after that model, but like you were kind of alluding to, it's hard to jump right up to their pace without the cash that Elon has, you know,
Well,
because there's tons of risk.
And again, he
And
jumped
if
in
they
at
are
just the right
noodle it,
time because when they
yeah.
started, he did not have that cash. And in fact,
Yeah.
too much cash early on, you
Can
end up
be
like
bad.
you end up like Blue Origin.
Yeah.
You've got no sense of urgency.
Yeah. True. Yeah, no, it's quite a story, man. When you know, when we look back 10 years from now, it's gonna be something.
50 years from now, people are going to be looking back at SpaceX like we did look at the Apollo program.
Yeah.
And unless something goes catastrophically wrong, and like say what you want about Elon and all the crazy shit he gets into, remove him from the equation if you have to, and just look at what SpaceX is doing from an accomplishment standpoint.
Yeah. From a business standpoint, like, yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah. I would have never thought it up. I had no idea, man.
Well, you and me aren't rocket scientists, so
That's true.
this is in
That
fact
is
rocket
true.
surgery.
That is. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think we hit it.
I think
I think we hit it for a day. Call that a pod. If you made it this far, thanks. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time.
We're looking to narrow our scope. We're just going to talk about planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah, if you made it this far, yeah. I think we were just kind of going over this too. Is that like we may have already been accidentally doing that? We definitely had a bunch of pods where it was just you and me, and we just talked about doomsday, how terrible the world is.
The world
and
sucks.
things
Cars
that
are cool.
Oh, yeah, dude. But I'm so much happier talking about this stuff. And I
Even
think
when
that,
like I'm pissed off about Subaru, I don't feel as depressed about our future.
yeah, we talk about you know, politics and economy and bureaucracy and war, fires, famine. You know,
China's next crazy disease they're going to spread to the rest of the world.
yeah, drones that are flying around that potentially are looking for aliens. I don't know, or maybe worse, nukes. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
No, cars.
I'm not a fan of that.
Planes, trains, and automobiles. That's all we need.
Yeah. Well, cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
We'll lock this puppy in. That's a wrap. Woo. Until next time, boys. Bye.
Baby, let me take you for a ride. It's crazy that we on the same